Welcome back, everybody, to coverage of LPL English, where, first of all, I want to apologize for the brief technical delay. It came out, basically the right time, right as our first series is ending and our second one is beginning. Speaking of that second series, immediately after following, Top Esports is 2-0 over Weibo. We are heading into our match of Week 7, the most hyped up one that we have between Billy Gaming and the JD Gaming. It's Knight against PES. They both got the same position because they have the opportunity to be in the same position at the end of this. If JDG win this series and break that win streak that BLG have gone on, it will have both of these squads tied up at 10-6 with just 2 series left to play.
Yeah, and I mean, the idea really that JDG could break this win streak is a little bit strange to me, to be honest, right? If we look back at maybe 2023, 2024, these were our 2 LPL heavy hitters. These were the tightened organizations, one of which could have potentially gone on the golden road, and BLG as well, with back-to-back LPL titles in 2024. Like, these are the titans of not even old, but like a very recently, but just not specifically this split. So having these two play up against one another in a series as well that IG is going to be watching with bated breath to see which of the two teams is going to take this loss is a really exciting one to get to have over the weekend.
2 of our 3 teams that have not officially locked in a spot in either the play-in or the playoff stage here in Group Ascend. And the results of this game could mean a lot in terms of where each of them really do belong. Let's start off with JD Gaming here, who, again, are a team that had some high expectations going into the year. A fully revamped roster led by Scout and PES kind of being the big carries of this team. They've had some inconsistencies, but have won their last 2 series and are looking like they could be on the upward trajectory.
Yeah, I think that for these 2 teams in particular, it's one of those situations where, for those 2 players, excuse me, where they've been sort of brought over or brought in on one side to have the impact that can take JDG back to that former glory. Obviously, 2024, not quite the highs that they'd have liked, and moving into 2025, they want to move into having that exact same level of success that we've seen from them in previous years.
And for JDG, it's been really nice to see them pick up 2 zeros over both Weibo and FPX. However, the 2 series before that were 2 losses, 0-2 to Top Esports and IG. So we've seen them able to take care of business, but the last time we've seen them again play against these top-level teams like Top Esports, like IG, who they are now in contention with for one of those top 4 spots, it did not end up as well. So seeing them go up against BLG, a big test for the squad. I think we've been seeing a lot more out of Scout in the mid lane, most recently on these melee champions like the Silas and the Galio, and that has been what's been able to find some more success for them, because when he's not on those champions, he has looked a little lost at times.
Yeah, and that's a double-edged sword, really. When you've got somebody who can be so effective on those playmaking champions, then obviously you're going to be quite excited by what they can do for you. But equally, when you've got somebody who seems to be quite reliant on those, and sometimes you've got a composition that you just want an Azir in, or you just want an Orianna to go crazy in, but you don't really have that same level of impact as the mid laner. It's sometimes a little trickier to try to play around.
And let's take a look at their opponents now in Billy Gaming. Roster that started off the first round robin 4-5 as your back-to-back LPL champions was not where they wanted to be. So they made a move. Out goes Wei, in goes Beishwan, and since then they've won 6 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, Beishwan has done an incredible job, really, as a coming-in jungler, right, from the Thunder Talk roster that was honestly still struggling with him on it. And moving into BLG, I was genuinely skeptical for how well he would unlock the rest of this BLG roster, but that's exactly what he's done as he's moved in. He's only enabled Knight in this sort of in this 2v2, but that's not to say really that this BLG roster doesn't have its own sort of weaknesses as well. I mean, this clip in particular, right, we still see that there are some 2v2 situations where they aren't necessarily coming all guns blazing, but the narrative for BLG so frequently had been that when one member falls, the rest of the team picks it up, right? Like this 5-headed Hydra that you can always rely on the next person to pick up the slack. That's kind of what you can see from BLG, is that even though in some games Elk isn't performing, that's when Knight and that's when Bin step up. Even when Beishwan just enabling Knight to succeed. I think that this is a team that is filled with talent across every single role, and that's what makes BLG so strong and why they've been on such a tear.
And we definitely feel like Knight has stepped up his game, especially here in the second round robin when BLG have gone on their 6-game win streak, and he's looked like one of the best players in the LPL. He won that team of the week just last week and is looking to continue to add to that resume here. As for BLG, they have gone 6-0 in the second round robin. However, you have to put a little bit of an asterisk here because their 3 remaining series that they have yet to play are here against JDG, followed by Top Esports and IG. So 3 out of the other 4 teams kind of in that top half of Group Ascend alongside themselves still to go. And so there's still a lot left for BLG to be tested with. Their only win against one of those teams that are in that top half right now is AL, which was a good win for them. That is definitely something they should be proud of, but there's still more to be done to see where exactly this BLG roster stands, which is why we think that this matchup specifically against JDG is going to be such an interesting test.
Yeah, they've been very clearly a benchmark team. Like, you must be this tall to ride to play against, right? Like, they're 2-0s so far. They've got NIP, WE, Thunder Talk. Like, those are 3 teams that you would expect to take wins against. And now they've got to take losses. They've obviously had a couple of rough games. JDG, they lost last time they played against Top Esports. They lost last time they played against AL. They lost a series against as well. So those top teams that we're looking at in the LPL currently are proving to be difficulties for BLG. But again, the important caveat is that the majority of those were pre-Beituan, pre this jungle move, which has seemingly reinvigorated them.
And speaking of that jungle matchup, I think that's something that we both have our eyes on here, Rude, because remember, last year, BLG had a very similar situation where they decided to move way off and add in a player, and that name was Shun, who ended up going all the way to that World's Finals, and they were unable to keep him going into 2025, so they went with Wei again, but they needed another switch up. They've gone with Beituan. However, Shun has done a lot with this BLG team in his time there over the past 2 seasons. And Beituan is still a very new addition, but it's been working out well so far.
I do want to talk about that graphic just a second, where we've got, Demacia Cup champion, MSI finals, LPL champion, Worlds finals, and then, Beituan, he brings vibes to the team. He's actually on a 6-game best of 3 winning streak in regular season of the LPL. So BLG, they know exactly what it is that they're looking for with these players and with these introductions that they have.
And here we go with the walkouts as we are getting ready again for our match of the week here on LPL English. We really hope that this is going to be a competitive series, an exciting series, and one that tells us a lot about what the story of the LPL is going to look like heading into the postseason. These are 2 teams that we expect to make a deep run into the playoffs. JDG specifically have been on this crazy spree of games where they played 7 series in the span of 10 days in their home arena in Beijing, which is where we currently reside, at least here on the virtual feed. JDG's coming out, getting ready here again for this matchup and preparing ourselves for that 1v1 for side selection. Is going to be Scout against Bin.
Yeah, and this is, we'll say it, a little more reminiscent of what we are expecting our 1v1s to look like, right? You're putting in your solo lane experts, those people who are born and bred in the 1 versus 1 to see who can come out on top. And I think that this could very well end up be a 1v1 that decides the series. If we get 3 games all on blue side that are all won by blue side, you can make that argument that actually this 1v1 proves to be the really instrumental factor in it.
2 players with such high pedigrees. Again, we've been a little bit critical, I'd say, of both of these players at times throughout the split. I think Bin has not necessarily had bad moments, but has looked underwhelming at times, especially in that first round robin for BLG. Things obviously looking better ever since Beituan has joined the team. Kind of, you can say that about anything involving BLG this season. And Scout as well. He has played really well over these last 2 series, specifically against FPX, and then, of course, in just their last one against Weibo too. But before that, we were really questioning what Scout was doing in terms of making positioning errors and things along those lines.
Yeah.
And so, while we have the junglers as being our big matchup to watch, I think seeing what each of these players do, both in this 1v1 and then also on the Rift, is going to be important too.
Yeah, and I mean, it's similar to what we were talking about with Cream, right? In that sense with Scout, just the occasional part where we're thinking it's just something that we should know not to be here, and we should know that this isn't the area of the map that we can be at the minute. So hopefully we're moving into a series and the latter half of the split where those issues are going to be put a little bit to bed, and that hopefully we can see those changes start to come through and the true form of these 2 teams starts to really shine through. Obviously, BLG, you talked about, they are on this incredible streak of games, incredible run so far, 6 wins consecutively. But for JDG, they're on 2 themselves, right? Like they are on a current hot streak, and if they can continue that, then obviously it's going to mean good things for them.
And that's the question: is both of these teams really being tested against the other? Right? They're so close in terms of current record. They both, though, haven't had that full level of experience or full results against other top teams. They've been able to take care of business, at least as of late, against their lower tiered opponents. But now for BLG, they get one of their first real tests in a while since their 2-0 win over AL, whereas JDG, again, since their loss to Top Esports and IG, looking for a little bit of revenge against another top half squad. We're on to the champ select here for a 1v1. Jace versus Rumble would be a pretty standard one, but one that, you know, could result in some blood being shed, which I'm always happy about.
Yeah, I think that players have now got to this point where they're happy to just lose a 1v1 to fighting instead of anything else, and they just kind of want to get onto the Rift, which is a pretty good way to be feeling about things. It is Jace versus Rumble, so Bin versus Scout. They're getting a little bit of a feeler, a bit of a heater. I doubt that either one of them. I definitely doubt that Bin's going to get his hands on Rumble in this series, that's for sure. But there's a world where Scout might open up on a Jace, so getting a bit of practice for on the Abyss for the Rift will be definitely very useful for them.
So those champions are locked in here. Bin is locked. She's locked in. I feel like sometimes they're like, you know, giggling, talking to the teammates back and forth. I mean, that's kind of what Bin always looks like, so I'm not surprised.
I don't know that I've seen Bin emote for a long time, unless it's like something truly, truly worthwhile. I mean, locking in Rumble for a 1v1, that's not gonna bring out the dragon.
Maybe it's the only time he gets to play it, because that champion's been on the ban table a lot here in this current meta that we sit in season 2025.
And we can see how happy he is about it as well.
So, yeah. Hey, he finally gets a game, and Beishuan gets to watch.
He gets to see the inputs. I that's my favorite part, is seeing Beishuan just like vibe and be like, yeah, you're having fun there, buddy. I can see this. Let me see the clicks. Oh, bad click, good click. Wow, winning.
Just constantly microing Bin.
Yeah,
really funny. He's had a lot of experience on the Rumble. I think we can say that for sure. One of the most storied top laners in the LPL. One of the best top laners we have in the world, especially over the last couple of seasons. Especially
he's played Rumble once or twice.
Yeah, he's got his. He's earned his keep.
Okay, so Rumble mechanics, typically straightforward, and the reason that Rumble actually pretty decent on Howling Abyss is that you get access to all 3 spells at level 1, so you can be overheated from the get-go. So you just want to stay in this middle range of yellow where you can be getting the extra power from your spells but not overheat. And obviously if you're going for an all-in, that's your sort of timer to maybe look for an overheat and try and find those auto trades back.
GG Scout starting with an all magic mantle alongside the 2 D blades, so looking to be a little bit more healthy, a little bit more tanky in early goings of this at least. Meanwhile, Bin opting for a more aggressive build with that early faded ashes. It seems like he's more focused on locking up a first item Leandries as we get to the point where the Ring of Fire will start to close in, and you know where the kills will become much more substantial.
Grapes, I'm gonna say it. We already had a kill at this point, or we already knew that there was at least some fighting at this point in our last 1v1. This one, it's looking like we're going the distance here.
You know what? It goes to our theory that maybe for the closer, more competitive games, they treat the 1v1s a little more seriously. I feel like
that's true.
This was FPX that they were playing against. Maybe we have kills already at this point.
Yeah, maybe we would have thrown in and had a bit of a Hail Mary as a fight. Both of them, though, perfect CSing so far, it's worth saying. So keeping our eyes out for how much gold they're able to go back to base with and whether or not they can begin to break that streak.
Okay, we got our first little poke here from Bin.
I mean, this is now the time then to go and trade, right? Like, if you've procced the bone plating, now's your time to look for a really aggressive trade and try at least to utilize your Rumble power.
Yeah. Especially after that shock blast has been used. Maybe Bin's just waiting for level 6, then he can use the ulti to both clear the wave and then maybe get some trading onto Scout as well. It's like now he's overheating, and actually relatively unfortunate timing and not able to equalize there. Now he's gonna use it. He just wants to get that crash.
This was a bad equalizer. This sucked. I'm gonna be honest. We cleared 3 ranged creeps when the next wave was already on its way. We don't get to use it to cheat tempo and go back to base. We didn't even really poke out Scout all that much, but hey man, each to their own.
Okay, now here's the question. Does Bin remember that 100 CS no longer wins you the 1v1? We saw
That's true.
I think a couple of days ago, I forget who exactly it was. I think it was an IG player maybe, where they were playing Rumble. They equalizered the wave as the Ring of Fire was closing in, thinking that they'd have the full 100 CS, and it literally did nothing, and I was very mad at them. So I hope that doesn't happen.
very mad at them. Hopefully. Well, production,
yeah, the Shy did it at the start of the
for
split.
telling us. Yeah,
but
it was the
this
Shy
happened
that
again.
did
It
it.
happened again recently, which was more egregious. Because if
Oh.
it happens like as soon as the rule started up, like
Yeah, you can
sure
forgive
that's
them.
fine. Like there's just no excuse that. Right?
No, there's no excuse if it happened last week. That's for sure. We use equalizers for fighting, not for farming. If we're in the Ring of Fire, that is. Looks like they've been actually getting the slightly better end of some of these trades, and it doesn't have the equalizer to clear out that wave necessarily, and he now can't stop the recall of Scout. I do also want to quickly point out, no ignites for either of our players here. Both of them opting into the flash and then the barrier, so some crucial skill shots, flashing off of the equalizer or dodging a harpoon versus dodging out on one of those shock blasts could prove to be the undoing factor for either of these sides.
I feel like Bin is going to try to use that flash more aggressively to try to close the gap, land some extra empowered auto attacks. I feel like that is more his style or what the Rumble wants to do specifically. Because sure, you can flash away from a shock blast, but if you're already flashing away from a shock blast, you're probably already cooked, right? Like if the game's
Well, you can flash to dodge it as well, right? Like you could just be flashing from one side of the Jace to the other, expecting that he's going to throw it. You know.
Yeah.
You don't have to be flashing away. Flash to dodge. We saw one from Jackie actually in our first series. So, are we also freezing in ARAMs as well, Bin? Is that what this has come to?
Have you seen like there's like high elo ARAM lobbies where they you get to 35-minute they like play 35-minute ARAMs and it's just all about like wave manipulation.
Oh, no, I have not seen that. That sounds so.
I saw some YouTube video about it a couple years ago, but we're getting some form of that here. I did do my research
so
actually.
awful, yeah.
Speaking of JDG, actually, it was Ala on the Rumble, I think, that did it a couple of days ago against IG.
Okay.
That was a sign of things to come for that series as again, IG took that 2-0. That was the last loss that JDG did face, as they have 2-0 the next 2 series and are now facing their next test here in BLG. As yeah, I'm gonna say
Grapes, I noticed something
this 1v1
earlier.
sucks.
I noticed something earlier, and it's that players have 2 cups on their desk when they're looking to play. Okay, hold on. Fight.
Oh.
Flash.
Okay.
Alright.
Flash used overhit. Okay, 2 cups, like 2 different drinks.
Yeah, they have 2 different drinks, but I can't see what's in them. And I wonder if they're like, okay, one's coffee, one's water, or if they're both just like, just hot drinks.
Double
water.
pumping the energy drinks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's double energy drinks in both of them, but they can't have them in the cans for the branding reasons, right? I'm curious about what's in LPL players' cups. I'm gonna say it.
Oh, yeah, maybe we'll get some experts here to figure that out for us. Oh, defensive flash there for Bin as he gets away from the the skies. As we also saw that Mauve Malmortius really provides some nice value there for Scout, although it will be on cooldown as this Ring of Fire will start to close in shortly.
Yeah, 20 seconds before that comes on through. Final recall's going to take place. Red Potion and a Longsword picked up for Scout. Bin. I mean, Magic Penetration, formerly Rumble's best friend. He may end up going back to base, picking up maybe even an arm guard, right? He's got enough gold for that. Could be Sork shoes and some more damage. Goes for the tabbies, couple plated steel cat, and a couple of amplifying tomes as well. Just to get out. And buys 2 health potions as well. Delightful.
It's completely maxing for this one fight because that is when this game or this 1v1 will be determined. There's no later scaling. So use all your gold right now. Spend it in the most effective ways that you think is possible. As Scout lands a nice accelerated shock blast to chunk out Bin to start this engage. The Ring of Fire will close in. Again, side select at risk for whoever is able to claim this first kill.
I will say as well, if this gets really down to the wire, Scout could use the knockback to knock Bin into the fire for just a little bit if that ends up being a way that Bin positions. So Definitely a little bit tricky if Bin ends up getting
right
here.
Now. Scott knows that he's got to go in soon. The Equalizer goes onto the bush to try to just reveal the Jace. As here comes the Ring of Fire is closing in. They're jumping on in. Bin is overheated, but is unable to find anything. He knows that if he just plays this out, spaces things out, Scout's bound enough time for the ball to come back up, though. He's auto-attacking Bin. This is going to be a close one. One of the closest 1v1s that we've seen is won by Scout, and JD Gaming are going to get themselves side select.
Okay, so JD secure themselves that game 1 blue side. They are able to actually use this Jace and win the 1 versus 1. Not something that seemed to be on the cards as far as things were going. It looked like Bin had a pretty good time of things on that Rumble, but between more of Mamortius, between Barrier, there were enough additional shields coming through. And some, honestly good kiting out on both sides to make it look like it was going to be a lot closer than it ended up being, as JD obviously going to take this blue side. And, hats off, very well played. It's a good little pickup for them.
And while it's maybe a slight advantage here for JDG to get that side select, that 1v1 could mean a lot going into this year, as the smallest of margins really could be the difference. And even though we've seen JDG kind of have some of these inconsistencies, their losses against IG, against top esports and the like, BLG have only again won over their last couple of series, against WE, and then it was a 2-1 against NIP. NIP was actually able to take a game off of them last time around, so they're less invulnerable than maybe their perfect record with Base 1 necessarily originally does say. We're expecting this to be a very close series.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the power of these two teams is currently coming from those junglers. Jun has been a pretty big part of this JD roster. I think for BLG as well, Base 1 has come in and has facilitated very heavily. So it's going to be which of those two junglers actually comes out and starts swinging, I'd say. And I think for Jun in particular, he is the carry quintessentially for his team, whereas for Base 1 it feels more like he unlocks the rest of the map. He unlocks Spin, right? He looks to try and unlock the rest of his side, and I think that could be a bit of a downfall for BLG in this specific series, because Jun is a player who can so easily take over games if he's able to just find the smallest of advantages.
Man, I'm just excited to get into this one. I'm curious to see what the draft priorities look like, what the mid lane matchup is going to look like. Again, these are two storied LPL mid laners with Scout against Knight. Knight's been playing some of the best League of Legends we've seen of anybody in the LPL this year. I feel like him and Kanavi, maybe Pays kind of jumping in as like MVP candidates in my head, entering the back half of this regular season. And Scout, again, has had his inconsistencies, but has shined as of late. We'll see if things like the Sylas, like the Yone, like the Galio get targeted here on their side. As here we go, game number 1 draft has begun.
So Yone taken off the board. We talked about Nico being something that was very frequently banned in the last series. Getting through was a bit of a shocker, so the fact that we get that taken off the board. Gwen now picked up, so does Rumble get responded as a ban? Lots and lots of trades really that end up happening with some of these top laners. But for JDG, right, where is their first priority going to lie? Still got things like Varus open as well, which has been a very highly sought after AD carry for a lot of people. So we'll keep our eyes open and we'll keep our sort of ears to the ground for this, because either side starting out strong is going to give them a very big boost.
Sion taken away from Bin, as that's been a very powerful champ, as we just saw in our last game as well. We'll see what BLG want to respond with here. Sylas taken away from Scout, so they're trying to deny some of those melees here, but still a lot of powerful picks up and available. Most notably, the Vi was permabanned in our earlier series today, Rude, and so that could be an early selection for Shun.
Okay, so taking this one, and then Rumble, importantly, still open here. For BLG, the Gwen taken, you normally see the Rumble banned. You normally see both of these two picked away from one another, but Rumble gets let through. I was surprised this wasn't picked up by Ala. Instead, though, the Rumble gets taken. Maybe an Aatrox here to respond for Ala is some of the typical answers that we tend to see, but the Talia also gets locked away, sniped in by Knight, and already we've got this really good mobile mid laner that can unlock, again, and can be moved out onto with some good pathing from Base 1. If he's able to set up this Talia, Knight can move around the map so easily and have that big impact that we're looking for.
It's Gonna be Ari responded to here for Scout. We've been seeing the Annie pop up a little bit more as a response into the Talia, but it will instead be a matchup that we've also seen a little bit earlier on in the split, before, of course, Annie did get those buffs. Fully rounded out topside with the Ornn here to match up against the Rumble. I think if you lock in the Zinzao here for Beishuan, it's a great combination. I think the Pantheon alongside the Talia has also been very highly prioritized. Would not be super surprised to see that one get locked in either.
Yeah, either or really can be taken for this side. And just because you take Zinzao here doesn't mean you can't take Pantheon. On might look for that on support role, even though we've seen it move much more heavily into the jungle. Our AD carries, though, the area of the map that has been left for dead. And expectation is that JDG are going to try and pinch out that pool, taking away AD carries that they don't want. Kai'Sa notably still available. Kalista still a pick that Pace has done exceptionally on so far. And then support's probably going to be focused out by JDG because they're likely to be the team that have to blind pick their support with the anticipation that, you know, Elk's going to take his AD and then On is the one who's going to get counter.
Just looking around these compositions, I'm curious to see what Pays specifically is going to play here. You know, things like the Lucian are available. We saw the Lucian Nami have some success for Light in that last game, even though it didn't result in a win. However, I feel like with this Ornn, JDG might want to turn a little bit more towards scaling, getting Pays on more of a hyper carry, so curious to see what is necessarily prioritized here. As for Elk, there's already a ton of damage, so you know, something like a Jhin and Ashe that can provide some safety wouldn't be the worst thing either.
Yeah, I mean, Varus is still open, right? Like, this is, you know, the go-to AD carry pick for pretty much every AD carry in the LPL at the minute, whether you do it on hit or you do it poke. It's been a very, very sought after AD. Gets taken off the board, and now looking at things, you know, maybe a little bit more left field. So Ezreal's Corki's Misfortune snuck a ban in last series, and I think that Misfortune with this Rumble comp, with even an Ornn composition, could end up having a pretty decent run of things as well. So keeping your eyes on those early game powerful marksmen as well, something that JDG might want to do. They could throw a support ban in here if they're planning on blinding a support that does get, you know, particularly owned in a certain matchup.
Gonna be the complete pinching of the AD carry pool, though, with the Xayah now banned away. So we're down to things like that Lucian and the Misfortune, but still a lot of high prior marksmen at the ready for either of these teams to select. Elk has been pretty consistent, I think, throughout the year for BLG, but in terms of which AD carry has had the more, you know, volatile, the more
standout
superstar-studded plays, it has been Pays on JDG.
Yeah, he's I mean, there are numerous instances of Pays, particularly a couple of Kalista clips rolling around recently that have had him really rise in a couple of people's estimations as far as AD carries do end up going. And with the Ezreal locked in now, you're sort of a little bit sacrificial of that lane, unless you're pairing it up with something like a Karma, like that Bard as well. So JDG should be able to find some semblance of early game strength down in that bot lane, and they are now locking themselves in as this early to mid game comp, right? With this Jhin locked in, they don't have that traditional super hyper carry late game. Yes, Jhin can do a lot of damage as you move later into the match, but it takes a little bit longer to do it than your Jinxes, than your Kog'Maws, for example. But he also has a pretty solid laning phase as well. Ahri Vi as well, you take the game by the scruff of the neck at level 6, and then Ornn is always good for a team fight. So in terms of damage that JDG have actually drafted, it's not the highest profile with Ahri Jhin. Like, for example, their Baron sucks, just to give people like a representation of how quickly they can do damage. Think about them hitting a Baron, they're going to really struggle. But it's worth mentioning that BLG's composition here doesn't have a true tank, so it doesn't really matter that they only do damage in really short bursts, because they've not got anybody that they're going to need to consistently DPS down.
And Elk is going to have a lot on his shoulders here for this game on BLG, because all of JDG is basically designed to make this Ezreal feel very bad about himself. You have the cease and desist from Shun, a lot of long-range crowd control from both Pays and Ala. I feel like a lot of it is to just try to assassinate the backline, find picks onto a player like this Ezreal, onto Elk, maybe even onto Knight as well. And if you are BLG, it's all up to the backline carries. If they can stay alive, if they can dish out the damage, they're going to feel very good about where their spot is. But JDG looking for picks, looking for that early to mid-game focus, as they are trying to find their third straight win here this season.
I mean, BLG do have some nice synergies as well, I will say. Having Braum rather, locked in with a Xin Zhao is a really nice synergistic pairing in that support jungle role, where you've got a really good pairing up between the Braum and actually what it's playing up against. So Braum versus Alistair versus Ahri versus Violet, they typically do pretty well because you don't have to land CC, it's just an auto attack and then the CC comes passively, especially when you've got an Ezreal who actually, when he's being dove on, can do those auto attacks quite significantly and use the Mystic Shot to proc that as well. The Braum itself here does have a lot of value and was something that I was looking at as maybe something that they might want to have banned away in that second phase. Instead, they opted that it's not worthwhile. They're now going to have to deal with the fact that they've got to play up against a Braum, and whether or not that's costing them at all, we'll keep our eyes on, because Braum as well, not just good for champions that want to dive, but also exceptional at stopping Ornn engages.
Yeah, got that Unbreakable to try to make sure that, you know, never have that Ornn Horn fully come through. Here we go. We have the champions of 2023 JDG, champions of 2024 BLG, finding each other here in 2025. Best of 3 to try to determine who can lock themselves up here in top 4.
I think we missed the gyos. I think they happened. They were on it this time.
Not as loud as I was hoping, but you know what?
No.
Okay.
Well, maybe game 3. Maybe
we're going to build up to it. Yep, we're going to build up to it.
Game 3, they will be there. That's how it goes. Game 1, people are like, it's whatever. And then whoever wins game 1 always gets like a better chant in game number 2. And then when we go to game 3, everybody's buzzing and having a whale of a time. So eyes out. Looking forward to the rest of these games, as we're expecting this to go the distance, I think, Grapes. We've got an Ezreal Braum sneaking into a brush relatively early on. Payson missing now, going to have to try and face check this. And one of them's going to take a bit of damage. Missing, you have to do this. This is not your Jin's job.
It looks like it was forced to be Payson's job a little bit as he gets chunked down to 35% HP right as the minion wave comes in. That's not great.
I'm fuming. I'm fuming for Pays, okay? That was not how that should have played out. Yeah. Missing should just walk in. If they suspect that they're in there, Missing walks in.
Oh, this lane's going to suck now.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it already did because it's a level 1 Alistar, and Jin is not particularly strong early in the game either, but it's just going to be perma-push, perma-prio here for BLG.
So the saving grace will come if Jun, like, level 3 ganks them. He can Q over the Drake wall, avoid vision, and then re-gank them again with the cooldown off of that Q. And it doesn't look like Beichuan is going to be there in time to stop it. So what I need to see from BLG is a little bit of cognizance, because they do have a ward on the Raptor pit as well. So they will see. And Beichuan's going even earlier. Oh my word.
Yeah, level 2
flashed.
attempt here on Ala. He started the Searing Charge. He still just flash. He's not even going to use it just yet, waiting for that last proc of damage. And Ala will be able to get on out. The overheated turret takes Beichuan down to 100 HP.
Okay, so the wave's good for BLG, so this is fine that they went for it. I think the fact that they were ever looking for that kill is a little bit wild, and Arla actually just spots them both recalling and is going to get the opportunity to make sure that this crashes. He might struggle to get it all the way under the turret. I think Finn can just walk up and try and tank it, sacrifice a little bit of his HP to do that. And the question is whether or not he actually wants to. Knight actually just walks in, scouts out the blue buff and says, yeah, Jun didn't do anything for you ganking top. You can still go on your clear, just a little bit more delayed. So Beichuan actually loses out on nothing other than speed going for that fight.
Yeah, he'll be able to finish off his full clear. It's just a lot slower than what Jin will be able to do. Maybe if Olive spotted out everybody going for a reset a little bit earlier, he could have immediately maybe run into the blue buff, try to steal one away, but the timing just didn't end up working out. And Shun's going to try to walk into the topside jungle and be in for a bit of a rude surprise, as the ward actually is also going to spot him out, so Knight knows that he has to be very careful down there.
Yeah, and you can see just playing with the appropriate amount of respect. And unfortunately for Jun here, not quite finding the early game lead that we might have liked him to. I do think that this was a real opportunity for him to try and make something happen, right? Like cross-mapping into that blue side as soon as you saw Beichuan move into that top lane was probably on the cards and wouldn't have cost you anything. And now he's actually just spent a little bit of time walking around mid lane where he doesn't actually find anything. Stick takes away the crab, so he's able to find that. But all of that tempo advantage that we were talking about for Beichuan, a lot of it lost by Jun moving in and not getting what he wanted.
We still see what Elkanon have been able to do down in the bot lane, actually forcing TES and Missing to run up to the top side and go into an earlier swap than even most bot lanes are happy with doing at this point with the new changes here on the Spirit Blossom patch.
Well,
of course,
look at the CS
right,
Grapes. They were getting blasted down in that bot side. This was a get me out kind of lane swap, and Arla, you're gonna have to deal with it.
See if Beishuan does commit to this dive alongside the rest of his bot lane. As Shun is here, however, he's channeling a reset, so it might actually not go for that full commitment. Oh my goodness, it's gonna be Knight just picking up first blood, and the minions might not take him down either. He shoves them away with his W, and will survive with the kill in his hand.
And again, it's Knight stepping up, one of, if not our best mid laner from the LPL in this split too. Finding a solo kill in the Ahri Talia matchup, going out, and honestly, this is one of those that was completely off of his own back. There's been no jungle intervention in that mid lane, and Knight just has the hands, just has the check, and takes out Scout.
Didn't think that Knight had enough mana to take him down. I mean, that has to explain it here. Scout was trying to take down that cannon, but he ends up paying for it with his life. Yeah,
and you can see, right, that's a, I guess, lack of recognition of the damage coming through, and when you've got Knight here who's just walking up, threatening with that seismic shove, but instead just decides that throwing more Qs is going to be just as effective. Level 5 to level 6 here.
This is the advantage that JDG have been able to generate with
no
Elkanon getting very ahead in the bot side. The top side here for JDG is the advantage, as despite all starting that engage at half HP, able to chunk Bin out very low. The Weaver's Wall comes through from Knight, but not able to fully close the distance. And it means that Olive will be
top side. Okay, Smite is secured. Looks like that was picked up by Jun here, and waiting out the Alistair stun. They don't have a mid laner here to go for this fight. Would end up being that 3 versus 2. You can see actually the experience differential is very much in favor of Arla, who's behind in gold, but up nearly enough of a level to take those fights up against Bin. FaZe walks up, so can stop that recall as well, so denying even more experience with the time that it takes. So far, so good here, it looks like, for both of these sides, just looking to stall out the other one and make sure that they can't find those advantages. As we look later into that game, we've already touched on the fact that probably prefer the fact that BLG do have quite a bit of damage, and they've got the ability to withstand, I'd say, a little bit of the DPS that comes through from JDG, using the Unbreakable from the Braum, using that Crescent Guard on Xin Zhao as well. They can probably withstand a lot of that damage, even though they don't appear on the face of it too tanky. So JDG, the ones that are a little bit burdened to make things happen, right? We want to see them move a little bit further into this game and make it a little quicker, a little snappier. But with nobody taking that first dragon and the Void Grub spawning in about 10 seconds, 40 seconds time, excuse me, we'll keep our eyes out for which side ends up cross-mapping and looking over to those neutrals.
I don't know if JDG want to fight for anything just yet. You look at Paze's build, he just has his 50 boots in terms of his itemization right now, so no additional damage to dish out in terms of a fight. I think right now if they can just leave these lanes in the swapped position that they're in, having Ala just soak up as much XP as possible and trying to punish Bin as much as they can, it would work out for JDG. But BLG know this. They want to actually start the aggression this time onto the Ornn, who still does not have that ulti for the next couple of seconds. The dragon goes down, but it's going to come at the cost of the Ornn falling as Knight makes it 2-0 BLG.
Yeah, really solid stuff, and great tanking from On as well on that top side, using the Unbreakable to block some of the damage. Now Jun here, level 6 versus Bin.
That ball breaker, here comes the curtain call as well. Cease and desist, everything thrown here at the Rumble, and it will result in that trade being executed. So JDG able to get one back, and it's on to Bin.
Yeah, now Paze will be able to benefit by taking a full plate for himself. Just kidding, he elects to go for a very quick recall. But nice little pick up there. Drake and a kill for Herald and for Void Grubs and a kill. Top laners getting left out in the lurch a little bit here, and I think that this is a really accurate representation of what happens in these lane swaps. If we take a look just individually at each team. So looking at BLG's top laner, Bin has got 44 CS. Looking at Elk, he's got 78. The same to be said for the other side. It's not even comparing it team versus team. Paze 72 farm, Arla 46. Like, these players put so much stock into their AD carries. Their top laners get left behind. The gold values that they end up with are so much lower that when you're putting all of these resources into your AD carry, somebody has to lose out for it. And in this instance, this is much more beneficial for JDG because Arla's an Ornn. He's going to press R, he's going to be useful. Whereas Rumble, yes, he can have a bigger equalizer, maybe do a little bit more damage than the Ornn will, but he's not going to be nearly as tanky or nearly as impactful.
Yeah, the entire kit of Rumble is to do damage, right? If you're not doing damage, you're not fed, it's going to be a little bit harder. You don't have that initial, or that like hard crowd control that an Ornn has to always make himself useful. So for BLG, it's going to be a lot of onus on to Elk and Knight specifically to try to make the most of the advantage that they've been given in order to make up for the fact that Bin has really not gotten anywhere here so far in this game. And it looks like Elk and On doing a decent job so far. They're chunking out Ala here on the bottom side. But we're really still waiting until that next major objective for a fight to really break out, for us to really figure out, you know, how strong each team actually is.
Yeah, and I think it'll probably come looking at those item breakpoints as well pretty soon, with Jun being pretty close to that Sundered Sky and Arla working his way towards clearing this wave quite nicely. Elk, Trinity Force not too far away. That tier will soon be upgraded as Missing is sneaking around here down on this bot side. There's a ward in try, so it shouldn't mean too much. But the lane assignments at the minute, currently a little bit mismatched. We've got mid versus top, mid versus AD, and then bot lane in general versus a top laner. So not really too sure about the parity on any of these matchups, and it's mainly just about getting gold very quickly onto your carries as Elk looking for a channeling recall. Expect to see that Trinity Force picked up.
How much money do you have, Elk?
Not enough.
Not nearly. We didn't even get to go
Shun?
okay, here comes the trade on the bottom side as looks like Jun actually takes down Bin on the top side of things. We're still looking at this bot lane play though, as Ala pops the Call to Forge God. Knight has no mana, and Ala whiffs the R button. And that's going to be disaster here for JDG as two more kills go onto the Talia.
Well, guess who's the strong member of BLG this game, Grapes? I think Knight might be the one that we have to see carry the rest of BLG across the line. They lose out on Bin on the top side once again. This is a replay of the dive that happened, and this is the power of Bayari. Like, yeah, you know what, Bin? You probably couldn't have done anything there. I'm going to keep it a stack. So the fact that he gets a couple of minions is probably the saving grace for him. But down on that bot side, it's a complete misplay by JDG. They don't need to go for that play. They're making a play top side that's being not responded to. But then missing an Arla, look for something that they have no purpose going for. They give Knight another couple of kills, and all of a sudden this Talia, who started out 2-0 and quite happy with this position in the game, is now 4-0.
And who else but Knight, right, for BLG?
Yeah.
Obviously, Beishuan coming in as being the new sub for the roster, resulting in BLG being undefeated here in the second round robin. Like, your eyes immediately turn towards the jungle, but honestly what Beishuan has been able to do is unlock Knight a little bit here in this, on this team, and really kind of have him fully back to like the peak form that we've seen him in. Obviously on a number of different teams, including JDG over the years, but now here on BLG, found some success in the last year, and I mean, we're really starting to see him lock in for playoffs.
I will say, for all the praises that I'm singing for Knight in this game, he's only 500 gold ahead, right? Like, 4 kills is 1,200 in its own right, so individually, in terms of that lane, he's down like 800 gold without kills. So plates, gold out from elsewhere, like, they're going in Scout's favor. So Knight, you know, despite the fact that he's got these 4 kills and looking at the items as well, I mean, I'd wager the Ari takes the 1 versus 1, to be honest, with Malignance plus an extra needlessly large rod versus an unstacked tier and Source and Lucidity boots. So Knight might have these 4 kills, but in terms of actual combat power, well, we'll see right now.
It looks like it does enough to force the ultimate coming out from Scout, and they can go right back to the scene of the crime here. JDG on to Bin once again, who's going to end this skirmish 0-3-0 as Shun will pick up yet another kill. He's 3-0 now.
That's a slight misplay there from Bin. He actually stayed under his turret when there were 3 people missing off of the map, so needs to stay behind his tier 2 in the future and then angle his equalizer onto all of the minions so that he can actually clear the most of the wave when he's getting dove like that. But a TP coming back up to that top side. This is Knight going to use the wall. Scout has no ulti.
remember, burning it off of that last exchange, forcing Scout to flash away. Seismic shove can be utilized, going right into the Unraveled Earth, and Knight should be picking up, but no! He misses the other proc of the Q, and Missing's here to knock him up and make sure Scout survives.
And that's a really big whiff from Knight there. That's a kill, sitting like a duck for Knight, and would have sent him to 5-0, would have accelerated that gold lead even further, but Missing comes in, summon a heals to keep him alive. I mean, this is nothing. And honestly, keeping Scout at least somewhat relevant in this game.
I want to get into the mind of like an LPL support player. Like, what does On have to benefit for doing that? Like, we're just having some fun. Speaking of fun, it looks like Shin is having some onto Elk too, forcing him to arcane shift underneath the tier 1 turret. Is it just ego? You think that's all it is?
It's ego, or if you're from the UK, it's bants. We call that bants. Yeah, just for the fun of it. There's another set of terminology for something and giggles, and if you know that, then you know. So you can enjoy that. That's the other way. Yeah.
I'm not British, but I do know that phrase. I don't know if that was originated in the UK or not. But I
don't know. I say it far too frequently, I reckon.
Riptail being started up here by JDG. They want to try to control another objective for themselves as they're currently behind on the Pizza Monsters playing. And it will be secured by Shun, even though that True Shot Barrage comes over. And so JD Gaming getting themselves a little bit closer to maybe getting themselves a position here. I want to correct myself. It actually already is the pizza strength being collected by BLG. But as I say that, JDG still in a position to try to take over this game as Knight the 4-0 Talia will go down. The Scout finds the mark and forces Beishuan to go and flash away. He's now stuck in a really bad position as Shun's going to pin a kill number 4.
Well.
And now on the bot side of things, it's been getting targeted. JD Gaming winning on both sides of the map.
And just destroying BLG with no response at all. They take the Herald, they take 3 kills across the map, and BLG are just watching, right? Like, Knight gets taken down, Beitwan unable to do anything. They look at the bot side, Bin's getting collapsed on for the 4th time this game. And what's Elkanon doing? They didn't take the turret mid lane, they weren't really able to push anything out in the side waves either. All of a sudden, just a quick little wham bam, and JDG are back in the driver's seat.
And we're seeing now some of the cracks in the armor that we might have seen glimpses of for BLG. And Bin having a bit of a rough game here on this Rumble. Again, it's a champion that requires a lot of income and just really has not been able to get any of it. You see 17 minutes of the game, only 1 completed item for him from Leandri, not even the upgraded boots. And Bin's going to need a lot more farm and a lot more time to get himself back into this one if he wants to help BLG win this game number 1.
And now is that point where you have to start thinking to yourself, okay, how much am I willing to let my team sacrifice? Because he needs to get back into this game, right? Like, he probably can't come to the next Drake fight. He probably can't even go to the first Atacon fight that we end up seeing. He probably needs to skip out on those just to be in his side lane and farming up gold. And Knight here, you can see, feels comfortable walking up like this when he's got Beitwan right there next to him. But unfortunately, this Vi-Ari combo proves to be just enough and gets a quick pick, finds their way out. And Beitwan there with a little bit of a misstep. That flash not really getting him anywhere to safety.
Another great game from Scout so far, showing off his stuff and really coming into form. We're seeing a lot of that here across the LPL as we're getting our highest levels of gameplay yet here as we close out this first round robin. Again, this is our match of the week between JDG and BLG, so close in the standings, still fighting for spots in that top 4, which lock yourselves automatic berths into the postseason. You see that dragon now spawning up, and it looks like BLG want to start the fight. They land the Glacier Prison only on the Shun though, and Missing goes in to try to stall things out. Shun looking for Elk, but he's able to arcane shift away. The Searing Charge finds 2, and JDG and Scout are looking to pop off here. Equalizer comes over the top, all unable to find anything as it gets blocked by the Unbreakable of On, but it's still going to be Beishuan in a terrible position, and BLG on the run as the dragon will go JDG's way.
So 1 for 1 here, all told for BLG. They'll probably be happy that they find a kill and don't lose out on really anybody other than Beitwan. Picking up Missing there, taking that kill. They don't really claim any of the shutdowns either, so it's still JDG coming away with the advantage in that. But the way that fight unfurled, you would have expected JDG to have taken quite a little bit more. Again, remember that their composition is the one that is a little bit burdened by time here. We're expecting them to be able to step in. And I mean, for me here, this is massively over-ambitious. Never really going to be able to find access to that Vi like that. But continuous double knockups coming through, missing steps forward and just baits in Beige1 to go down and fall. Really good Unbreakable, stops the fall of the Forge God in its tracks, and the open up comes through from Pays. He's not quite able to find any final shots into the backs of people running away. But BLG, again, finding it like that they can struggle, but have the composition that if they're able to wait it out just a little bit longer, they might be okay to take this game.
It's all on the mid jungle right now for JDG. Shun and Scout have gotten themselves into really good positions, and we saw a little bit of what that could hold. As Scout did a ton of damage, but just wasn't able to finish off the kills. But now with those second items coming into inventory, JDG could be closer to that point where they can start to single out members and try to take over the game from there. Seismic Shove does not connect onto Missing as Sal starts playing very far forward with that Unbreakable Will still at his disposal. But JDG do not want to push too far forward just yet. The Otacon is around the bottom side, and there's pings towards it, but it would be very risky for them to start this up.
And again, a reminder for those at home, if you're new to the LPL or are looking at the missing out on the couple of years of experience of the LPL, that these two teams were back-to-back champions in the last 2 years. 2023 saw JDG take 2 consecutive titles. 2024 saw BLG do the exact same thing, followed by marked international success for JDG. For BLG, not quite that same success. But these are your heavyweight titans of the LPL from previous years going head-to-head. They've not found that same success this year, but they need to here.
If the Otacon has been started by JDG, remember they take it slow. However, it's at 4,000 health, and Beige1's already at 40% HP. Going to be very tough for him to get in the pit and try to pick up a steal. Unbreakable will already pop by Missing as he's buying a lot of space. The Otacon going over to JDG, and now they can begin the fight in earnest. The Equalizer is going to force Pays and the rest of JDG on out as the Weaver's Wall comes through from Knight, but it's not enough damage to take down anybody just yet. Missing at 100 HP, he's gonna live as the sacrifice will be Alla, but the price that they'll pay is the Otacon going over to JD Gaming.
And look at the waves. I think this is a really big indicator of how well JDG are playing this game out. They're happy to sacrifice Arla because they know that they're not really going to lose too much on the back half of this. That bot wave has got to go so far that it's going to take a few people to try and knock this down. They don't have a mid wave to work with. In fact, they're losing one. And now they're losing Beige1.
Wow, Sean, that was blind, by the way, into the Tribe Rush, and it allows for Beige1 to go down. Now Pays, with that 4th shot, gets hit up with the block of On. But it's just another kill going into the hands of JD Gaming. True Shot Barrage denying the backs a little bit. But JDG once again finding another one. They even up the kill count off that extended fight.
Yeah, so I think they saw Beige1 walk into there, and then with the vision behind that wall, or behind that brush, they thought that he might still be in there. Had an educated guess, and they found the Xin Zhao lacking there. Opened up and take him down pretty quickly. 5-0 and 2 for Jun on this Vi. Was first picked for a reason. He's stepping into game number 1 with a reckless abandon that is just destroying BLG.
And Shun knows what the position is like of Beige1, having to sub in for BLG, a team with such high expectations. And Shun was able to do that pretty well, but now finds himself on a different team, finds himself away from Billy for the first time in 3 years, and making the most of that opportunity so far. With JDG to win this series the last time these two teams faced, albeit with now Beige1 on the team. So Shun looking to complete that sweep here in Split 2.
Not yet to be able to do it. I mean, looking at how this game is going, he's had a pretty marked performance in it already, and just Elk stepping forward, you can see Pace fancy feeting his way out of here, Missing, dodging out on that Wind Becomes Lightning as well. A control ward thrown into this pit to maybe try and force and incentivize some fighting before the Dragon in 30 seconds.
Oh, he found the charm on a bin. He's 3 levels up onto the Rumble, by the way. Scout is very, very strong now as they're going to look for the collapse. Shun dashing forward with the Vault Breaker. They have the Dragon spawning in 10 seconds, and they have a perfect setup around it.
Honestly surprised that we didn't see Scout just, you know, charge with the ulti and try to find any of the frontliners there, because he is so strong.
Oh, there they go! By Ari immediately onto Elk, and the Ezreal is down for the count. Two-man pull from missing as it finds Knight. The equalizer comes out though, and it's a big shutdown that finds Shun. It is Beishwan to pick up the 1K and put it in his back pocket, but the rest of the fight is gonna go JD Gaming's way. Scout and Pays pop off, and it's Bin and Knight still on the run. Seismic shove finds onto missing, but the curtain call has been opened up. Weaver's wall will be able to get Knight away after popping the Seraph shield, and JDG are going to pick up this mid-tier 2 and go right back to try to claim this Infernal Soul point.
It's a nifty escape from Knight, but it costs a lot of their members. 3 for 1 in this exchange. Yes, the kill goes to Beishwan, which honestly, the state of this game, you'd have preferred it on Elk, you'd have preferred it on Knight, really. That 1,000 gold off of Jun's head. And the Dragon will go down as well. True Shot Barrage, going to be too early. The rest of JDG, we're happy with where they are at the minute. 3 to 1 in that fight, 4 kills to the good right now. And again, Jun starting off this fight, just predicting where Elk's going to be.
Fine.
He's not even out of the air.
Flash. He dies with flash because he gets his crowd control lock until he's dead.
Yep, and it's a Q flash in from Jun as well, right? Like, I don't think that they had vision inside that lane unless somebody's giving it to them. So they just walking in there and expecting the Ezreal to be there, just pathing and mapping his movements themselves.
Oh,
and found it again!
Elk the second time, and that flash is still off of cooldown, baby. Another Searing Charge does connect here, as it looks like the rest of JDG could be in some trouble. The Seismic Shove lands on the Shun. Ola finally arriving, knocking up one. Bin is very low, but Knight is still full HP until he gets hit up by the Ornhorn. And JDG now gonna try to finish off this fight. Deadly Flourish dodges away from Knight's doing his damnedest to try to save this game. But JDG have already picked up 3 members. They're looking for another one. Pays flashes forward. The 4th shot is gonna be able to do it. And they will be able to take down all but on as JDG win the fight.
Yeah, they took down Scout off the back end of that. I'm not sure if Knight just, you know, caught one quick rock that took out Scout, or the E that unfurled on top of him takes him down, but Scout going down there a little bit, maybe of an oopsie. But another fight started. Another fight that finds Elk. It's Jun once again. Gets the buffer on the E, but doesn't even have time to flash. It's a Deadly Flourish from Pays, which is really well positioned. And from here, it's Equalizer looks good. Able to take a good amount of damage onto Jun, and then again Knight, who's doing so much for his team as well, so it feels bad to criticize him. Lands this Seismic Shove, but it mispositions his next Q, which would have taken down Scout. Those 2 crucial rocks would have been enough to take him out of this fight. And he knows that he has to go for some semblance of a hero play, so he goes for Pays as well. And yeah, that E tags in the Landry's little bit of damage comes through. Pays forces his flash as well, so they do get some good summoner spells out of this. I mean, Knight is like doing everything he can so far, but Elk is just getting caught out a little bit too much and not quite using his summoner spells effectively.
Yeah, so hey, you know what? Save it for this next fight, maybe around the Baron, as Elk will have his flash available. Just cannot be continuously singled out. That was the power of JDG's composition, where they might not do as much full, you know, long-term DPS, but if they find a pick, if Shun finds that ulti, Pays can follow it up, Scout can follow it up. There's a lot of ability from long range to just lock down one singular target, and Elk has fallen victim to that twice now.
Yeah, he has. And now, I mean, that's like, they've lost so much ground in this game because of it, and now Jun's sniping around again, looking for these fights. They didn't quite have Arla with them. Didn't feel confident to go for it. But I mean, looking at just how the difference in these carries is at the minute. Scout a level up overnight. Bin down 2 levels on Arla. Elk down a level on Pays. On. Careful, everybody down, missing.
Now here comes missing. The better support play is a 2-man knockup so far. The Equalizer coming out and separating a little bit here for JDG, but Beishwan is getting targeted, and Scouts force the Spirit Rush away. Here comes that curtain call. Pays has the opportunity to do a lot of damage. Who is that 4th shot going to find? Not anybody here, as Shun's now going to go down, and Elk still has the opportunity to dash forward, finally using that a flash, and it's going to be used to try to burn down JD Gaming. Knight goes through the Weaver's wall. Scout and L are very low.
Look at Pays.
Pays doing his best. He finds the 4th shot on Elk, and it's going to allow for Knight to get the kill too. Pays Pays finding everyone on Billy, and only On will survive, as the Baron could be on the menu.
And the Jin rings 4, taking down BLG's carries. JDG, they can turn to this Baron. I'm looking at this. I don't know that they can do this here, Grapes. They do not have the DPS. They immediately turn tail and back away. Almost comical. And now they wasted all of their time. They could have maybe gone and got a top turret, got the mid inhibitor, go back to base. Let's set up. Let's look for that dragon. Honor's just glacial fissured, ourselves. It really stung that. And then BLG actually, Beichuan here, goes in and absorbs all of Scout and Jun's engage, right? He's the focus of this fight, which gives Elk this free reign to start doing DPS on the backside of this. And then the flash forward from Elk, we get to see him finally use it, looking to be aggressive with it. But it's just Pays this whole time, actually left unchecked. He's able to put an auto down here. E forward from Elk. Q goes wide. If he hits that, Pays is stunned. He probably goes down. Scout as well with a crucial charm onto Knight to take him out of this fight as well. They're fighting on live.
Unbelievable play by the backline carries, and we just gotta go into another team fight here as Beichuan has gotten stunned up. He's using the audacious charge forward, and the dragon is being tagged. Now JDG can claim themselves the Infernal Soul if they land the final hit onto the Drake. Call the Forge God going to be used. It finds both the backline carries and scouts on the backline. We're gonna try to finish off this team fight. Searing charge as connected on tonight. The flash forward from Scout, and there comes the curtain call, baby. It's JD Gaming getting the soul, getting the fight. They're looking on to Elk. The season assist combined with the Deadly Flourish will find it, and that'll do it. JDG are going to march into the base and take game 1 over Billy.
And it took them 30 minutes to do it, Grapes. It took them 2 solid team fights and 3 crucial picks onto Elk. But they find game number 1. The Drake Soul at their backs. Game 1 goes to JDG.
And on the back of it, the biggest player here, 10-0-10. For Pays' Jin, as that was a 10 out of 10. A masterpiece here for one of the best players we have in the LPL. Is JDG up 1-0.
And Jun as well, I will say, a very, very powerful Vi performance in this series so far. Starting off that game and really dictating what happened across the map. Moving from top to bot through his early ganks and enabling every area of this map to be successful. But it really was Pays, right? In those crucial team fights, he dodges a Mystic shot, which means he doesn't get stunned, which means he can turn around and turn that crucial fight back in their favor. It looks for all the world like BLG were going to start running away with that. Elk's flashing forward with Ezreal, feeling confident, feeling emboldened. The second, though, that sidestep comes through, the entire fight turns on a kilter, and, Pays comes out with it.
What a game that was.
Yeah.
That delivered for our match of the week here on the LPL. BLG had multiple opportunities to find fights, to find wins for themselves. I think Knight had a tremendous game on the Talia, but it was Scout Zari and Pays' Jin that came up clutch at the end of the day. And now BLG finding themselves in a position that they have not often found themselves in the second round robin since Beichuan joined the team, sitting at a 1-0 deficit in the best of 3 series.
Yeah, and this could prove to be the beginning of that ending of the winning streak, right? BLG currently 6 series back-to-back that they've taken with this current iteration, and JDG only on a 2-game win streak themselves, but they've been playing against pretty formidable opponents. This is probably going to be a really tricky match for them before they end out their campaign for split number 2. And for BLG themselves, 0-1 in this situation, not the worst case in the world, right? Like, this organization as well, it's worth saying, is more than just a product of this year's goals. Have fought a 5-game series to make it to a LPL championship, have done so much as an organization in recent years that an 0-1 to JDG will be just another drop in the bucket. But they need to bounce back like they have done so frequently in the past and try and find this win.
And you know what? I'm going to say it. Topside really struggled here for Billy Gaming. Bin obviously got put far behind, but eyes turned towards Beichuan in this game. Shun really outplaying him kind of from start to finish overall.
Yeah.
And it started off with just being able to find plays that the Xin Zhao was unable to, and again, being this new player, there were some questions of if Beichuan subbing in really what is going to save BLG. It was this player from Thunder Talk really going to make all the difference, and for the moment it did, as they have continued to win all these series in a row. But now it comes down to it. against some of these top teams, if BLG, they have a very tough end of their schedule, even though they started off 6-0. It is JDG, then Top Esports, then IG to finish things off. And we're going to need to see more out of Beishwan if they want to continue that undefeated streak.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean that this was my concern, right? I said it coming into this series that actually versus a player like Shun who can take the game in their own hands, is Beishwan going to be able to keep up with that? And in game number 1, the answer was quite clearly not. And you can see that, you know, Jun, Scout, the link up that they have, and the Jin, I think, paired so nicely with this Viari composition that it just enabled them to constantly punish. And yes, Beishwan at this point is doing as best as he can, but he's already so far behind at this stage that the Xin Zhao just doesn't have that power, doesn't have that control in the game that he might have liked to have, to be able to push forward and to take these games by the same sort of leading factor that we did get to see from Jun.
And just some crazy plays overall. Pei's getting super fed on this Jin. He's been popping clips like in each of the last 3 series. First it was the Callista in some of these now. Now he's doing it on the Jin too. I mean, this guy, again, been one of the top performers in the LPL. Just you look at the eye test, you look at the stats as well. This guy delivering on all levels for JD Gaming, even during some of their struggles when they haven't been able to fully look their best. And he definitely looked his best here, especially in this last fight.
And it is really nice as well to see for Pays, right? Like one of these players who came from a Genji year that people were, you know, blaming him and putting a lot of flack on this AD carry for being one of the reasons that his team was failing. Now moving into this split where he's been able to be a standout player on this JD roster, and he continues to deliver time and time again with Jin, Callista, whatever champion they seem to put him on. We know that he's got it in the locker to make it work. It was Zeri in Worlds. It was Kaiser's before that. Pays just keeps on delivering here.
And what a start here for JD Gaming. Again, the question for both of these teams coming into the series is, sure, they've been on, you know, decent hot streaks. You know, Billy maybe a hotter hot streak than JDG's, but against top-level opponents like each other, what will they look like? Who's going to be able to break first and break out first and pick up this series win, which is so crucial? BLG would almost assuredly lock themselves up a spot in that top 4 with a win over JDG, but they now still have a lot left to do, and they're going to have to win 2 in a row now in order to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not out of the realms of possibility, right? Like, we've seen BLG do stuff like this before, and right, JDG, they took that win on blue side quite significantly easily, but we've seen it in the past where blue side seems to be that real determining factor. Expectation is that JD are going to get to go on to that red side now, and with player of the game getting locked in, I'm a fan of this. Jun ran that game from start to probably 25-30 minutes in. He was the one picking Elkoff in the mid lane 3 times consecutively. Yes, Pays had a 10-0-10 performance, but I don't think he could have done that without the support of Shun.
11th MVP for Shun, actually leading all of his team. So has been the quote-unquote most valuable player for JD Gaming start to finish here in split number 2, as they find themselves up 1-0 overall in our Match of the Week series against Billy Gaming. When we come back, we'll see if BLG can answer or if JDG can run them away with this one 2-0. We'll see you in a bit.
Tell me where do I go? Tell me where do I take us? Your heart is starting to slow. May the water be safe. As I dive in, blood stains washing underneath the waves. I'll be reaching out to keep you safe. As we fall, I can't hold on much longer. We're drifting down to the other side. Try to pull us under. Keep holding out for the other side. Tell me where do I go? Tell me where do I take? Where do I go? Tell me where do I take? Your heart is starting to slow. May the water be safe.
After a 30-minute banger, it is JD Gaming up 1-0 in our match of the week against BLG. Both sides fighting for that top 4 spot, lock themselves an automatic berth into the postseason. And for BLG, now their undefeated streak to start off the second round robin is at risk. Grapes alongside Rooted here on LPL English. But before we get into that Game 2 draft, I have a quick question to ask you. Have you ever heard of MOBA Trainer? It is a new app that teaches you League of Legends with a series of puzzles. You just boot up the program and work through puzzles every day to improve your game knowledge. And what we're actually going to do before going for Game 2 is taking a look at a different part of MOBA Trainer, the mechanical training, where you can both practice your dodges and your skill shots. And our producer Kai has given us the opportunity to do the activity ourselves through his computer. And so, Rude, you are going to be maneuvering the mouse in the dodge trainer, and I will be pressing the buttons and, you know, trying to let these skill shots come through. How's that sound?
Okay. No. We'll just do dodge. We'll just do dodge because that I can already feel the difference. Okay. I'm dodging. I'm the mouse. Grapes is the keyboard.
Yep.
That's what's happening right now.
I'm pressing the ghost.
Oh my god, I'm ghosting early. Oh, I needed that charm. I needed to catch it. Oh, and we flashed. That's good. That's okay. I thought I left clicked. I'm gonna keep going. Walk straight. Walk straight is always the key.
Now, Rude, you are a decently high elo player, so you're pretty good at dodging skill shots.
Formerly
every
a
once in
decently.
a while.
Oh, I didn't see that guy.
Popping the
That's not
ghost
fair.
again. Oh.
Then you go through the middle. Good
How
flash,
did that
good
hit?
Flash. Oh, never mind. Not a good flash.
I mean,
Yeah, you know, I've been known to play in a League of Legends tournament or one.
That is true.
Keep going, keep
As,
going. You'll never expect it. But walk
gotta get to
straight,
a
walk
minute.
straight. Walk straight, guys. Oh,
Wha-
what? What?
Huh? Oh,
That was right hitbox right there. That was
that was a ping. That was a ping issue. That was a ping.
that
right
was disgusting. I will
right.
relinquish my control.
there. Right.
I will go
run it
again.
back.
We go again.
it back,
Uno
run it back.
mas. Uno mas.
I
Yeah,
think you
Nautilus
clicked
hook
back
came
as soon
in
as
there.
I pressed the flag. Oh my god, that was an
Oh.
aggressive Syndra to start this off. So, the cool
Oh,
part
no.
about this is that actually all of the spells have like the same cast time, the same missile speed as like actual League of Legends, even though it doesn't look like fully League of Legends, which is a good way to practice dodging away from different skill shots and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nicely done. Now, if we get to
Faker.
a minute, we're in a good position here.
Yo,
The
that
fact
charm
we've only lost
is
half a
way
heart,
long,
this is a
by
good
the
sign.
way.
I think Alk has the record for this, by the way. So
Probably.
that's who you're trying to beat right now. I'm gonna press this again. I'm gonna try to
Okay.
dodge away from the one from the charm
no.
instead, because that's full heart.
Good, good, good. Good flash. Oh, okay. Owned.
10 seconds.
That's bad. That's fine.
Okay.
Intentional tanking of the Syndra Q so I can dodge the Ari stun.
Oh
No!
Okay, we hit a
That's
minute,
a minute.
at least.
Oh, no. Okay. One more. Okay, good
Run,
flash.
Rude.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
Hey.
That's better.
a
At least
minute
I
and 8
died to a
seconds.
skill shot that hit me. That's fine. Did we do it?
Did we get the new record? Rooted
No.
on
Okay.
100 ping or something?
I think we got 108, and then our high score is 109, so I think we're one
okay.
behind.
We got very close though, and that's big shout out to you because you're playing on ping.
I'm gonna say
back and forth
the
from
200
Kai's
ping
computer.
or 120 ping, that's pretty decent. The
We
120
will
ping.
take that for sure. And so
Yeah.
that is just a little bit of the training that you could do here with MOBA Trainer. And if you like that, you can subscribe for 20% off and unlimited puzzles by using our code LPL20. Proceeds will benefit the MOBA Trainer designers and the LPL English unofficial broadcast. Start leveling up your game today with the help of MOBA Trainer. And with that being said, Rude, let's jump right back into our coverage of this series between BLG and JDG, because now BLG having their backs up against the wall. They've gone the distance a couple of times in the series, most notably a 2-1 against NIP. But this feels like one of the first times in a while that they've been truly threatened.
Yeah, I think that for BLG, they were sort of riding this high and, 6 wins. They could probably cruise to the end of this season, and they were hoping for that. And then they looked at their last 3 games of the split, and they went, those are some pretty difficult opponents. And they probably needed to take this win so that they had a good enough chance at finding it. Because their next series is up against Top, then they play against IG, and I'm still looking at MOBA Trainer just in case that's of relevance. So I'm not sure.
There
We've
we
got the
go.
draft up, wonderful. Thank you. And Nico banned away on red side straight away.
So BLG on the blue side this time around. Remember, it was JDG that won that initial 1v1, so they got themselves the advantage to start things off there. And now, in this true Fearless format, things like the Vi, the Ari, really high priority picks, the Rumble as well, all off the board. That means that going down the totem pole just a little bit means that different bans could potentially be targeted as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, our question then changes to which of our junglers are going to sort of step up, or what role really is going to step into needing that first pick role. I mean, Sion has been banned away, so your tanks become a little bit less sought after. Maybe we see Cassante coming through. Bin had a pretty ropey game #1, so he might be feeling a little... He's not going to be feeling shell shocked. He's absolutely fine. But it's about what it is that BLG want to do to upset the status quo, because JDG had a massive performance from Jun, massive performance from Pays. Yeah, I didn't think he'd be returning to tanks. This seems very much in line with what I would anticipate.
Yeah, with that Sion off the board, with things like the Rumble already not available, the Yorick rises up a lot in priority. We'll see what the response is here for BLG. That Pantheon's been a very high prio jungler. We've also seen things like Shen actually play into the Yorick pretty well and be able to, match the side laning a little bit while being able to join the fights a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the idea that you can use Shen to not just be that side lane split, but also move into the team fights really well as well with that Stand United definitely adds up. I love this pickup of the Pantheon, though. I think the Pantheon Yorick is such a powerful 2v or powerful 2 picks to take together, just because you can sync up so well with one another. It's a really good denial pick away from Jun here. Still gives him a lot of early game agency as well, which is something that he used so very well in that first game. And giving Pays the Kalista again, a champion that we've seen him work so very well on time and time again. Well, the question becomes now, what is it that JDG pair this Kalista with? We've got still things like Renata open and available, so maybe BLG look to take an Enchanter pairing and an AD carry that's going to pair well with Renata and snipe that here.
Ash Renata, that's a pretty classic pairing as well. You can do very well into the Kalista specifically, right? When you can use the volleys to slow down the attack speed as well as the movement speed. So Pays could be a little bit handicapped in this game, as we'll see what JDG want to finalize their first rotation with. They already have a jungler and AD carry. Looks like they're thinking about top laners at this point to match up into the Yorick, make sure they don't get targeted in that second ban phase.
And it's a pretty decent philosophy to be going by, and giving Arla the Jax here gives him a little bit of an opportunity to try to fight back. You can also W or auto W breaks you out of the cage very quickly. You've also got a quick Q to get out if you've not got that cooldown available to you. So plenty of ways that the Jax can navigate the Yorick as well, and worth remembering as well that all of Yorick's damage pretty much at the very least comes from autos. So if you put up the helicopter, you spin around, you dodge all those auto attacks, again, Bin could struggle quite heavily in this 1v1.
And yeah, another champion that can match the splitting of the Yorick a little bit in terms of dueling power at the very least. I feel like a lot of Jax's power is not necessarily in his like wave clear ability or his, you know, quickness in pushing out waves like Bin will be able to utilize on the Yorick, but in that 1v1 situation can jump over the wall of the W and do a nice job there onto Bin. So we'll see how that matchup does end up working out, as it looks like junglers are going to be targeted now here against Beishuan, who definitely had himself a bit of a rougher first game, and is going to need a nice turnaround in order to help BLG get back to even footing in this best of game.
I think that if I'm looking at this composition, what BLG need is like a true engage style mid laner to come through for Knight. I'm looking at things like Yone might actually work out quite well, which makes a little bit of sense for why they would ban that Sejuani. But then something like a Galio over the top as well. They want some support for this Yorick as they move into that mid and late game, and enable Bin to be on that side lane and really pop off there. So having something that has a little bit of side lane control, maybe a semi-global, maybe even a Nocturne comes in here, and then an AP threat in the mid lane for Knight. Like, there are a lot of tools that we could see BLG go to facilitate this Yorick and send us to that game number 3. For JDG though, I mean, this would be a pretty good pairing and gives them a lot of flexibility as well if JDG are looking to be a little bit flexible with it.
Some point and click here in terms of just some easy crowd control, some easy damage. Kalista Annie used to be something that popped up every once in a while. So that's a good shout out there, Rune. We'll see if Missing is willing to pick that one up. I think Scout has been, more often the player to, select this champion specifically since we've gone into this new patch. As BLG still need a jungler, they still need a mid laner. Looks like Beishuan down the tier list has found the Skarner as something that can provide even more lockdown here for BLG.
Wow, okay. Yeah, so it's, and this was a Beishuan classic as well on Thunder Talk as well. Like, I remember him specifically just dominating on the Skarner in split number 1. So getting that picked up for him makes a lot of sense here. And again, talking about that semi-global capability, not the greatest from the Skarner, but you can, use the E to hop through walls and get a little bit creative with your gank angles. BLG looking for that scaling to round out this composition with, so if we go late, we know that we're going to see Knight do damage. And we can expect to see JDG trying to do that damage earlier on. Question is, where is this Annie going? Is it going to be a support pickup for Missing here to answer the Renata, or is it going to be a mid lane pick to deny this Victor?
Or something completely different? I mean, we don't talk about hovers, but that would be a weird one.
Yeah.
Overall, I do like what BLG have done to really counteract the likes of a Kalista, Pantheon that want to be diving in on you.
Okay.
Looks like it's going to be Missing on the Elise, so they're really going all in on this full engage dive composition, and I feel like overall that is playing exactly into BLG's hand.
Yeah, like they've picked 4 divers here. I mean, 5 divers. Annie doesn't want to play defensive. 5 divers versus Renata, Victor. and an Ashe who can, so the Ashe slows you up with volleys, the Victor puts a W down, the Renata ulties you all. I think that by pick 5, right, JDG are already committed. They can't all of a sudden lock Janna and expect it to fit. But it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky.
The early game has to go like immaculate if you are JDG to have any real chance in this one. I fear is the kite back for BLG is big. The late game damage from BLG is big. The side laning from BLG could even be better depending on what this York versus Jax matchup actually does look like. And if it does work out for BLG, we could be headed to game 3, which I'd be happy about. You know, this is our match of the week. It'd be kind of a little bit anticlimactic if it was just a 2-0.
I would be a little bit for all the JDG fans out there who have been newly recruited off the back of game number 1. I would be a little bit scared if they're not going to 2-0 here, just looking at the compositions in their own right, and that game 3 is looking very, very likely here, just based off of what we can see from the compositions acting with one another. But that's not to say that Jun can't pop off in this early game, that Missing can't go crazy on this Elise early on and set pays off to the races.
Game number 2 between BLG and JDG. JDG winning that first game in their home arena in Beijing. As you can hear the Jayos come through. 2 of the most storied organizations here in the LPL in the 2020s. 2 of the most successful in just the past couple of years. And teams that have not necessarily hit their full stride just yet, are still waiting to fully get into things in the 2025 season. Getting a win here at the end of the Split 2 double round robin would certainly be a good signal for either.
To resolve second here, it's worth looking at for Pays. So he's looking to, knows that he's going to be struggling his way through this laning phase, and that he and Missing are going to have to pull out some pretty wild maneuvers, some spectacular plays to get themselves into a good spot. As really, I mean, Pays and Missing, they were maybe not expecting them to walk straight through try, but they did anyway. And whether or not they caught the Elise walking in here, well, they definitely know where Missing is now. I was just quickly looking, Grapes, to find those Annie buffs or the Annie changes that come through. My favorite thing I think about patch changes is that these weren't labeled as buffs for Annie. They were labeled as an adjustment. Because they gave her damage on Q and W, but they lowered her base health, so it was an adjustment.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly. Surely the damage is not the more important part of this one, as has been a lot of Annie in competitive play. Maybe sometimes the little adjustments are just maybe reminders that the champion exists, and sometimes it's a little bit of that. But I think it's pretty on display how much damage this Annie really does do, especially once she hits level 6. So I feel like we're starting to see some of the patch changes really come up.
Yeah, and I mean, they did lose, or Annie did lose a little bit of damage on the follow-up from her ulti as well, so the initial burst still hits just as hard. However, the damage over time that Annie's Tibbers does is now a little bit weaker. But Tibbers also got a magic penetration passive, so, maybe we can argue the benefits on either side.
Definitely feels strong, especially if you can one-shot somebody. It just feels so good. I mean, the feel. Everyone has had that experience, getting just one-shot by an Annie.
Yeah. She builds full tank, one-shots you anyway.
Yep, exactly.
Do you remember Righteous Glory?
Righteous Glory, Annie support? That was like one of the first metas that I actually watched back in season 5. Man, what a time.
I think 6, maybe? But yes. Yeah. Righteous Glory Annie support was amazing. For those of you that don't know, that didn't watch League back then, Righteous Glory was an active item that gave you movement speed when you walked towards enemies. So it was the go-in button.
It was great. It was like Shirelia's tankier, and so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Jun's here.
Oh, wow. It's an immediate flash on tonight.
All right.
Force the flash out of Victor. Didn't feel like they had enough damage, especially with no stun available for Scout. He already used it.
Oh,
And onto
going under the
Elk,
turret.
actually, they go with the Cocoon. Will allow for the Ash to take a power shot.
I was like,
there.
why didn't they commit? And then I remembered what Renata's W does. And
Yeah.
that they would have probably both died had they have committed. So the power of Renata there, folks, right there. Case in point. Good thing that those guys know what they're doing.
So we're getting action, but no kills so far in this early game. Health bars chunked very low up top side. Both of these guys, they want to fight so badly here. Ala was thinking about leap striking in, but he knew he didn't have enough damage. It was not a lethal threshold. So instead, he's going to try his best to try to shove this wave. There's no Shun. He's going to get spotted here on the Tri-Brush Ward. As there goes the control ward to make sure he does understand the fact that he has been caught out. Missing. And Pays are just going to try to get this wave in as fast as they can.
I mean, honestly, I think that the sooner that these guys can get a recall, like the being Pays and missing, the better. Hold on.
Extra movement speed for Shun. They're going on to the flashless Renata, but Beishwan is here at just the perfect time, allowing for Elk and the Rangers focus to continue to try to kite and take Shun low, but not enough for anybody on JDG to fall.
Wow, and again, double flashes burned. This time it's BLG that lose out on the trade, as JDG are going to be very happy with that little exchange. I was just talking about the fact that I think that this lane for Missing and Pays is going to be pretty tricky until that first recall. If they can go back, get some tier 2 boots, I do start to favour them in that 2 versus 2, and now they get to take that fight when they both have no summoner spells, or when there's no flashes at the very least. That all of a sudden becomes much more beneficial for the bot lanes of JDG. Initial recall comes through, straight call up with that Maiden from Bin. TP's down onto that bot side, and it's matched by Ala, who's going to TP down into that bot lane. Same thing with a Phage and Scout. He's fine.
Okay. He has the move speed with the E. Not going to end up getting bursted down by that Arcane Storm. You could see that Elkanon also knew that, hey, maybe it's time to get away from this Callista, but nicely done by JDG to kind of call their bluff and match on the top side. Now Shun and Missing are looking to try to collapse on Ignite, or at least help Scout get out of this lane, because without teleport, he is very vulnerable and would lose a lot if he does have to go back to base.
So making sure that he's at least a little bit safer in that situation of the mid lane. Both AD carries go back to base, pick up their tier 2 boots. These are probably the 2 single AD carries that you will see insta-rush those tier 2 boots. Martial Cadence means that Callista can now hop a lot more, and Arla now looking for a bit of a fight bot lane.
Throws out the Grandmaster's Might. The Maiden is helping out Bin. It's a 1.5v1, but right now that is good odds for the Yorick. As now, in the mid lane, it is Knight going too far, and Shun picking up first blood for JDG.
And once again, Jun strikes first. The JDG jungler sat with 11 MVPs so far this split, looking to add another one to his docket. Ala caught by the slow.
Beishwan
The leap strike out.
Ixtal's impacted to try to find him as he knocks him into the wall. Not an impale at the ready though, so there's no more lockdown. It's just going to be a flash forced out from Ala. As now Beishwan and the rest of BLG are going to try to control the bot side of the map, going towards that scuttler and maybe looking towards the dragon.
And you can see that actually this mid lane matchup isn't going as well for Scout as we might have liked. This Victor answer to the Annie is doing pretty well. Despite that kill going down, Scout's behind in experience, he's behind in CS as well. And I'm getting a little bit worried for this JDG composition, right? Like we talked about the fact they need to be snowballing early. 1 kill in 7 minutes is a good start, but they need to find more, and this Annie is going to get outscaled by a Victor. Scout goes in, Flash Tibbers, classic combo. Let's Jun do the rest.
Press the outplay button. As yeah, this results in Shun getting the kill. Another nice opportunity picked up for this mid jungle of JDG. Remember, they were so influential on that buy Ahri in game 1 in terms of finding their team the win. Situations where maybe it looked like BLG were more favored, but you know, they were still able to find these plays. It's a little bit less kind of easy to combine this time around, but now that Shin has that Starfall, we'll be able to combine with Scout on plays more easily. As BLG on the top side are going to start up these grubs. We'll see if Shun wants to go in with the Grand Starfall to try to steal one of these away, or if he's instead going to focus on clearing out his camps with Pays and Missing wanting to head back to base.
Yeah, and Scout also just recalled into that mid lane, so not really the power on this top side to try and fight. The individual laning advantages that BLG have found so far are proving to be enough to bleed into now these neutral objectives, as BLG swapped up to this top side to secure Grubs, which is going to be the Yorick quintessential moment where you want your Yorick to have Grubs so that he can side lane more effectively, can take these turrets. And now I expect to see those recalls come through. Yeah, you can already see on the minimap, Bin moves up to that top side, Elkanona go back to the bot side, and now an Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
Oh, it hits it on the Scout. I was kind of not expecting that to land, but hadn't got enough time for Missing to get here. Grand Starfall comes out there looking for Knight, forcing the flash by utilizing that Grand Starfall.
I don't know how an ECA hitting Scout mid lane forces Knight to flash defensively. That's just baffling to me. Either way, that's a testament to why you ask your mid laner, do you have lethal? Because Scout's items so far are a Doran's Ring. That's how offensive he's built, because he's got a tier and he's got Merc Treads. So he's nowhere near close to taking down this Annie through a Molten Shield.
This is like Season 1 Victor, right? We're not at the late game form just yet.
No, yeah.
The situation where, you know, he's still scaling, he's still learning, picking up more spells as he goes along. Not having all the upgraded abilities as well is going to be a bit impactful there too. So yeah, Knight is going to take a while, but I think if we do get to the point where Knight becomes strong, that is where JDG definitely will be facing that trouble, as it means that BLG has scaled, and we again favor them scaling-wise in this game.
Poon hits, but nothing to come from it, as Jun considered stopping hitting the ward, and then kept on hitting the ward. There's a Drake that has spawned, so we're looking to see who it is that can come out from this fight around the dragon, it looks like. Looking at those items, a Fiendish Codex picked up, and still just sat on tier 2 boots for our ADs, a little bit of AD on either side, but with JDG having started it, looks like a support recall coming through, means that they're the ones that are going to take this for themselves, and now looking potentially on tonight. Remember, he's got Merc, so CC is a little bit weak.
But doesn't have a flash. Missing. Almost had the cocoon. And now with the repel up, actually putting himself in some danger, as Knight doesn't have a lot of
Scout's
items,
got
but
flash.
still has some base damages. But Knight, remember, is flashless, and there goes Shun, there goes Tibbers, and that's another kill picked up for the JDG jungler.
And it's just so disappointing that Knight has to fall like this again, where he's absorbed one gank, and then there's a second one coming, right? He should really know better at that stage, because the Drake's just gone down. The Pantheon can still be on bot side, and unfortunately the rest of his team couldn't make it in time.
Oh, got it.
Yoink.
I thought he was gonna try to like smite it from inside the bush, like a little sneak attack, but he showed his face. Nicely done by Beishun to kite out and at least make that happen for Shin. So far, JDG have found kills, but BLG farming up nicely, specifically on this top side, as we have not seen the counter matchup that Alla picked with this Jax do too much into the Yorick yet.
No, I mean, he's down 25 CS at this point. Like, the thing that we've seen Alla happen is lose, which is not what you want from your counter matchup. So, maybe a little bit more help coming in his way.
Yeah, and if they can find a kill on the bin, it would be big, but that cage, it just makes Shun unable to find anything, and the ghouls are doing so much of the Alla that once Shun dashes in, it's just too much DPS from Bin to make anything happen. Oh, Enchanted Crystal Arrow forces Missing to use the repel, but now he's getting flashed upon. Handshake, how you doing, man? As there goes the hostile takeover, and Missing is taken down, and Bin collects the gold. They're looking for Alla as he is forced to flash away, and Shun is now trying to clear out this wave to make sure he cannot get dove.
And that is what we're after. The second BLG start to play together, they make these fights look easy. Jun now going to die. There's a TP in.
Yeah, the Impale already used. It's on to the Pantheon in a 1v4 situation. Not going to go well, as Bin gets kill number 2 for himself, as the mid laner's dueling it out a little bit. Scout flashes in. Oh, he finds the combo as Knight dies for the 3rd time this game.
Gets disintegrated by Scout. A 3rd death for Knight, but again, I'm looking at this gold disparity, and Knight's died 3 times to this Annie combo, but he's only down 300 gold. Like, this isn't having the impact that JDG need it to. BLG are still up on gold, the rest of the map is still going more than fine, and I don't think these kills are particularly consequential.
because, you know, as Knight was going for the fight, he was also in the process of taking a ton of turret plays for himself, so almost going net neutral on him.
Yeah.
Would have loved to get the kill on the Scout as well.
And it's a good flash to dodge out on the laser, it's worth saying, from Scout, so, you know, the mechanical execution is still there for the Annie. But it's still just a question of JDG needing to snowball this game, and honestly, the fact that they're behind at 14 minutes in is really damning for them. They probably just slowly bleed out and lose. They've probably got 5-6 minutes left where their composition is still relevant. I think first item power spikes are going to be big for them, so on that Blade of the Ruin King, on that Luden's being finished, they have an opportunity to find a fight and start to push their lead. But just look at the laning advantages that they've got. 7 plates for BLG, 0 plates for JDG. The individual lanes were winning for BLG when JDG needed to have those winning lanes.
And it's all about finding these early kills and finding these picks here if you're JD Gaming, most notably off of this Annie and the Kalista lane and all that. But even though they found them, it hasn't resulted in anything more than just the kill gold specifically. There's no CS leads that have opened up. Everybody on BLG is farming up nicely, and that is not a good sign, as JDG were clearly on a timer once we got into this game after seeing the drafts.
Maybe the Herald is going to be that window where JDG looks to find it. Malignant's even picked up for Scout. K's still not with that Blade of the Ruin King just yet, so he's not going to be popping off in these team fights just yet. Jun caught in the cage.
Yeah, and there goes a 2-man impale. Everybody
Lovely.
caught in the crowd control chamber as the hostile takeover goes on to missing, and Bin will smite him down with a shovel. It's a double kill picked up for the Yorick, and he is very strong here in this game. Has all 4 kills for Billy Gaming. They're going to get the Rift Herald as well.
Yeah, he's digging graves left, right, and center right now for BLG, just tearing JDG to shreds. Second he finds a target, they get taken down, and this combo of Skarner and Arta, we've seen it a couple of times in the LPL already, but BLG seem to be nailing it time and time again. Beichuan holds them in place, the hostile takeover keeps them rooted for another couple of seconds, and it's more and more power going the way of BLG. They thought that game 1, you know, they'd had a bit of a stinker. They've shocked themselves, really, with how well it didn't go. And now JDG, with this really aggressive early game composition, have put themselves into a hole that they are not ready to climb out of.
They got to keep looking, though. Got to keep trying to find fights, but ooh, we undershot that a little bit there, Shun, as there's a lot of opportunity for Bin to walk out on that one.
So, a swing and a miss for JDG, and the more of those that we see, again, the less and less we like their chances.
Yep.
Arla going to get interrupted by the ulti, should just be fine to hop on out of here. I think Knight's just letting off some steam, to be honest, just ulting like that.
Gonna result in JDG getting a dragon potentially here, as there goes a Cocoon. They have found the pick onto On, but it's just onto the support. They send Missing forward and it forces Elk to flash away, but now the volleys can't come through, and the kiting can start to be used in response. Bin coming in with the TP, or just running into this dragon pit, is gonna get stunned up and taken down by Shun. JD Gaming somehow able to secure themselves the dragon and a fight.
And this is what we were saying, that this is their time to do it, right? They're on such a fine window where they can still find these fights, so they are forced to do it around this dragon, and finally they actually come away with a net positive play. They find a couple of kills, they find that dragon as well, they keep the stacks going. It's good, it's a great start, but is it enough? They take down Bin. I think that 400, or the 4-kill shutdown is the biggest part of this, and actually taking out the Renata through that support item as well. Really impressive. Elk actually getting a good flash over the wall is also very important. And look at live though.
Oh, that is just Elk going down. Remember, he used his flash in the last fight. Shun forcing On the flash away, and now BLG could be in some trouble. Bin has to flash out. There goes Scout with the Incinerate. This bailout is not going to be able to save the Yorick, as Ala goes for the flash.
That's
it's 3 more kills for JDG.
And Knight now, the one standing under this turret. Beichuan still there, still lurking to try and help him out, but Arla's on a flank, Scout's on another.
Scout finds the Timbers. It's on the Knight. That's another one. It's going to be an ace. Picked up for Billy. Or onto Billy.
A 5-4-0, and JDG come alive off of one Drake fight. They turn the entire game back around. They knew that Elk had no flash. Jun just spots him out in mid lane, flash on top of him to take him out over this wall. incredibly that he got caught by the handshake to begin with and still finds his way in. It's Pays once again with these crispy cleanses and the footwork on the Callista to keep himself A, safe, but B, constantly dishing out damage. And Scout on this Annie as well. A double stun there, finding the flank on the next cycle round when they can go under this turret. Finds the stun onto Knight as well. And JDG, I mean, you just wonder where did it come from this game, because they looked like to all the world as though they were just going to slowly bleed out and lose. And then 17 minutes hits, ding, 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 they're ready to play.
6 straight kills, right? Or maybe it was even more than that. I mean, JDG were in a very tough position just 10 minutes ago. But now
just
they have a
4 minutes ago.
lead. Or, yeah, even 4 minutes ago. Shun popping off again on this Pantheon against his old team.
Mm-hmm.
And that has just been the story of this series so far. This battle of the junglers, the battle of the former sub versus the current sub. It has been Shun having the advantage in both of these.
And that's what that's the story for this series, right? It's the, yes, two titans of former LPL glory, but Jun being bought into BLG to try to save their season at some point, and then not getting a spot on that same team for the next year, going back and saying, you should have kept me, you should have fought harder for my contract, and you should have looked to keep me on your roster. This is exactly why. This is what I can do for you. And I mean, in this game, he's popped off once again. In game number 1, he single-handedly carried the game. And I think that this time round versus Beichuan, who's had a much better game, I will say, but still not had nearly the same amount of impact as Jun.
And you can see right now our little JD solo queue predictor really thinks that their home team has the advantage here. And it makes sense. You have the scaling or the snowballing composition. You're 3,000 gold up for 20 minutes. I think that's generally a good sign, as we really need to wait for BLG to get to a couple of items before they start to come on.
Second item's finished for Elk Knight, halfway through his Liandry's, we'd like to presume, with that haunting guys in his inventory, but you've already talked about it. Looking at the flip side, you've got Rageblade finished for Pays, you've got that Liandry's also finished for Scout, so the burn damage really starting to come through. A Black Cleaver picked up for Jurm, so Pays also dishing out a lot more DPS onto anyone who's been targeted out by Jun previously. And in all of these side lane interactions as well, it's Arla constantly forcing ulti after ulti out of Knight. Atacon now started the items in favour of JDG, and this is another fight that they're going to want to take, and another one where Scout, no flash just yet, sort of 20-30 seconds left on that summoner spell. That's the big ticket hitter.
I mean, if you're BLG, you want to try to stall this game out as long as possible, but if this Otacon goes over, it might be a deficit that could be pretty hard to come back from, and it already is at this point.
Ala?
They're going to try to lock down Ala, as here comes the Grand Starfall. The hostile takeover is big. Ala goes down, and the shutdown goes the way of the victor. A 2-man impale, but Pays is still going to survive, but finally gets taken down by Elk as he gets saved by the bailout. Scout is down, and somehow BLG answer right back. They'll get themselves an ace, and the Unireverse card will find a quadra kill in the night.
And the victor, who's been destroyed this entire game, put in the dirt. 0-4-2 before this fight, tears JDG to shreds. A complete switch up from the fights previously. As we take a look at this replay, it's Arla with a very aggressive leap strike, hopping onto 3 people here, expecting Jun to get in time, but that's not the case. And then this Impale catches out 2. Pays has to flash over it, but he flashes into the face of 4 people.
Just is barely able to survive his Elk. That bailout buying so much time, allowing Elk to do so much damage on the Ashe as well. And then Scout, again, already used all of his abilities, will go down, and take a look. That's going to be Knight picking up his Liandry's and a full Seeker's Arm Guard as well. This Victor is starting to scale, and so are BLG. They want that game 3 here, Rooted.
And they're looking to send it to us as well. This issue with this JDG composition, the second they start losing those 5 versus 5s, is the second they've been outscaled, it doesn't really get better. They're going to have to now hands check once again. They already did it when they were behind. Around that mid lane, they caught out Elk on a mid wave that probably shouldn't have been caught out for and probably shouldn't have got taken out on. But they found it anyway. They now need to find that same creative angle. Remember, 4 early kills on tonight to put him behind the curve. Look how far behind he is, Grapes. He's a level up over Scout. He's 2k gold to the good. It doesn't matter at this stage. All of the gold is Jun.
Yeah, the Pantheon is still strong. However, Beishuan also has 2 completed items, and I feel like at that point, that's full build for Skarner. You don't need anything else. You can do your job. You can jump in. You know, you wish you have a little bit more stacks in the Heartsteel, but they haven't been fighting too much since that M has been completed. And yeah, just took that one fight, and now all of BLG are in the green, right? They are feeling good about where they are in terms of the economy, and the game continues to progress the way that it does. Again, this is the scaling point that we were hoping BLG were able to reach, and we've gotten there.
Yeah, and you know, JDG, they had, you know, one misstep, and all of a sudden the game just feels like it's right back out of their grasp, like it felt like, you know, 10 minutes ago at this point. So it's on them now to put that burden of execution back on their shoulders and make sure that they can find a play to get back into this game. It's not like they're out and completely out for the count, but odds are that BLG, if they play just a standard 5 versus 5 front to back, the champions that BLG have are simply better on paper and will function much better in that 5 versus 5. It's going to be much easier for them to find this win. Again, a reminder that Impale plus Hostile Takeover has been such a crucial part for both of these fights that BLG won, and that Beishuan has been able to find. Fight over this red buff could happen though. Here we go.
Oh, wow. Take a look at Shun. He might have dove way too far here. He's forced to flash away. The hostile takeover. It finds 4 people. That's bought so much time.
Though.
But now all in the back line. They find a 4-man knockup with the Fate's Call. And missing might have just helped BLG.
Bail out.
Go meet their
Elk's
doom.
dead.
It's 3 for nothing. Back and forth we go. Get on the seesaw, baby. This is the LPL. Ala finds the stun tonight. He's forced to go golden, but he will die all the same. It is Baron picked up for JDG.
And after On lands the massive hostile takeover, Ala splits up BLG and single-handedly carries that fight. Scout immediately down to the bot lane. They want more than just the Baron from this, Grapes. They're going to take turrets bot lane, look to push mid lane, push out top side as well. JDG, they know that the game is in their hands and they are looking to put it to bed.
This is going to be one of the craziest goal graphs that we have seen this split, and we cover the LPL. That is just how wild this game has been. It was 4,000 for BLG, 2,000 for JDG. Now it's right back up to 5. And I thought this play was sure to be doomed. As Shun was caught 1v4, but is able to get on out.
Yeah, he gets his E up initially, so he doesn't actually take any damage. And then as BLG cross through this choke, Ala catches 3 with the Fate's Call, and then a 4-man stun comes through from the knockup as well. Scout isn't a part of this fight. The observers showed us him, zoomed in on him, because he was watching this game from the sidelines. This was Ala and Missing soloing, duoing even, this fight. And I think the Elise might have gone down, but that knockup was all that it needed to be.
So that's Baron picked up for JDG. They got the full ace, and they now have the item advantage once again on their side. They need to do a lot off of this push, though, because we continue to say the scaling for BLG really does take effect. You know, we saw what that Renata was able to do. It was just positioned slightly better. If one little thing did not go exactly JDG's way, we'd be looking at a very different situation. And so they want to make sure they put themselves at a gold lead that is insurmountable here off of this power play that lasts for 90 seconds longer. They can find it onto On. They land the stun. They land the Timbers. It's Scout that finds it. And the support for BLG is down for the count.
And now they've got no disengage tools, right? That Impale can do a good job at keeping people at bay.
Over the wall for the 2-man stun. Here comes the Grand Starfall. They're going onto the back line. They find the Impale, and it will be the Pantheon getting shut down as Elk picks up a big chunk of cash. Pays and Missing are low. Scout still very high HP, and all is jumping over the wall looking for a little bit of extra damage. But BLG, they can continue to look for this fight. They can try to continue to shed some more blood. Pays has been singled out, but we've seen the clips. We know that JDG can definitely still turn this one around. As we have the Dragon now spawned. It is 4 members still alive here for JD Gaming as they're still looking to push away BLG.
Okay, one of the unsung parts of this Annie's kit is that Molten Shield. It's not just self-cast now. Pays can actually hop forward with a little bit of shield from the Annie and the massive amounts of magic damage and magic power that this Scout has. he can give a pretty big shield over to the Callista. They turn around, they find Soul Point. Grapes, if you ask JDG what they wanted from this Baron, they'd have said the game. If you'd have asked BLG what they wanted from this Baron, they'd have said not to lose an inhibitor. Yep. The fact that they don't even lose their base is a massive win for BLG, and they will be happy to trade Soul Point for that.
When you take a look at the gold overall, it's 1,500 that you get from killing the Baron itself, so only net 600 going the way of JDG. I think it was around just one tower that they were able to get off of that Baron push. So that and the Dragon was JDG's reward. The question is it enough, as now all has been singled out here. He's able to blast cone his way out. Oh, look at the moves on this guy. Double blast cone to dodge away from all the crowd control and all the lockdown that BLG had to offer.
Show that to somebody in 2022 and 2020 and they'd be baffled. How has he just escaped that situation? Nevertheless, BLG unsuccessful in their adventures and missing good Cocoon there. Keeps himself alive. But it's BLG that are pushing forward. Look at this TP though. TP right behind them. BLG see this, and now they know that they're routed.
This team composition is meant to disengage, but they're going to have a tough task at doing that as here comes the solo laners. There's a nice counter strike from Ala, but everybody on BLG still alive. Bayless onto Elk, but he will go down. The hostile takeover finds 3, but it's nobody on BLG that can do any significant damage. On will go down. Bishuan's already fallen. It is just Knight standing. He teleports back to the base, and that is exactly where JDG intend to head.
With 4 people dead and a tremendous flank, a double TP from the solo laners, JDG don't have Baron. Knight's got way clear.
He gets stunned.
I think he's fine. It's just
he's dancing on it. Oh, whew. Don't do it to him, man. Down to the bot lane. We have to take a look at this game potentially ending here, as it is Pays missing and Ala hitting onto this bot lane inhibitor. There's 10 seconds on the top side, 5 seconds on Elk. So the BM was just to buy some time to make sure Knight could not rotate down. So it's only 1 inhibitor taken off of that play, and they used a lot of teleports to use a lot of resources for it.
They did, but they come away with an actual map advantage this time, Grapes. And look at that gold lead as well. 6,000 gold almost in their favor. And it's the deep TP, the super flank from Ala. They saw it coming, but they could do nothing about it. How many people does he catch with this counter-strike? It's 3 people to begin with. Elk flashes over the wall right into the waiting arms of Jun as well. 4-man? 3-man definitely. As Elk flashes over, Jun follows, and he's got the Renata W on him, great, but that hostile takeover, unfortunately, if your AD carry's already dead, is coming through far too late. We have to remember that On was just getting CC'd the entire time. There's not a lot that he can do in that situation. A handshake earlier might have been a death to Ala again.
Ala, again, looking for Elk, as the Ashe is already at half HP. A lot of trouble. Hostile takeover. It doesn't find the Jax. And there goes Ala onto the back line. Grand Starfall coming in as BLG are cut off in their own jungle. It's going to be Beishuan stunned up as he's fighting a 3v1 that he certainly does not win. Ala somehow still alive, but he gets shut down as it's the Victor to pick up the kill. Knight flashing over the wall. Somehow BLG still has some life, but here comes Pays. Pays gets himself another, but Pays will go down to Knight. What a game this has been. It has been who's going to try to pick up the ace. Sean on the Pantheon will not have his Guardian Angel pop. The Comet Spear not finding the crit. What a game. It is just a 1-man army that is standing for both JDG and Billy.
A 4 for 4, and it's JDG that can't execute. They're up 7k gold moving into this fight. But BLG stand firm. Knight resolute on the Victor. DPS after DPS just constantly keeping JDG at bay. And again, Ala trying to take this game into his own hands. Hops into 4 people. Dodges out on the handshake with a stasis. Flashes over the hostile takeover to take down Elk. As On with a misclick on the W bails himself out as opposed to the Ashe. And at this point, you're just thinking the game must be over. But it's all eyes on Knight in this fight as he's kiting out Jun, kites out Ala and takes him down as well. A stasis from the Victor and a flash over the wall keeps him just safe enough. But then a bailout comes through. Pays, with lust in his eyes, flashes onto the Renata instead of taking down Knight and doesn't even get a chance to proc the bailout. Scout does what he can. And the fact that Jun comes back in here to try and find an extra bit of damage, I'm surprised he took down the Yorick, but he did it all the same. We're going to go back to live. There's a Drake Soul now spawned. It's JDG Soul if they can get it. Flashes across the board are pretty much down. We have Flash on missing, and that is it. The Elise is the one to make the play.
Teleports away, actually, from the fight, so they're going to be okay, most likely, with BLG starting this Dragon up first. Remember, you saw how low those health bars were. A Chemtech Soul would be absolutely massive if you're JDG, but Shun is getting singled out right now, and there comes a ton of damage onto the backline. Knight has fully scaled up here, but here comes Ala. He gets handshaked away, on to the fight, the stub of the Fate's Call comes through. There comes all the damage that JDG need. Elk is going to die. Beishwan is dead as well. Knight's able to find something, but now it's been stuck in a 1v3. Can the Yorick find a miracle play to save the game for BLG? Absolutely not. 4 strong are JDG with an ace picked up. They're going to march into the mid lane and give BLG their first loss of the second round robin of the LPL.
A second teleport from Arla to put BLG in the dirt. Pay stands strong and JDG take the series.
3 straight series here for JD Gaming. They are peaking at absolutely the right time. As the win streak is over, the honeymoon is over. JD Gaming get the 2-0 over BLG.
An incredible series that delivered on both fronts. We got to see the highs of JD Gaming, what they can do as a 5-man band, and the power that they've got in this organization, in this roster of players. Everything that this team and the players behind it thought that they could be was shown here today. And for BLG as well, in that second game, we got to see a lot from them as well. So many clutch fightbacks, so many times that we thought that they were just completely done for, that they come back. And the same to be said for JDG. In that game, BLG were ahead for like the first 14, 15 minutes, and they could have just taken that and steamrolled through to a victory and forced us to a game 3. But that wasn't the case. It was JDG in Beijing just popping off left, right, and center.
And at the end of the day, it was positioning errors that JDG were able to capitalize off of onto BLG, finding little picks here or there. I mean, incredible usage of the Fate's Call on the Callista. Yep. Multi-man knockups in back-to-back team fights. Absolutely broke this one open for JD Gaming, and we thought that they had maybe the late game disadvantage against BLG.
Yeah.
When they stacked up as 5, they utilized the death ball comp. That was all they needed, and they are now the ones to take down a BLG in this second round robin.
They are. I mean, for BLG, right, like that puts both of our teams at the end of this now to 10-6, and keeps, honestly, IG probably a little bit sadder overall because they're now a game behind 2 teams instead of 1 game behind 2. So we'll keep our eyes on how that affects everything for IG just a little bit later on. But I mean, the idea now that we've got 2 teams that are 3 teams even that are, you know, vying for 2 spots, and that they are honestly quite closely comparable. I mean, it means the LPL in these next couple of days is going to keep on heating up, right? We talked about this for BLG, that this was a series that they probably needed to win because finding wins in the next couple of series is going to be hard for them. They play top esports after this, and then they have a very, very important series up against IG just afterwards. So, yeah, really difficult week ahead for BLG, and off the back of an 0-2, that's not what they need. And
all of a sudden, the guise of them being this untouchable team, this undefeated team, shattered. Because JDG just did it to them. They gave them their first loss, and now with top esports and IG still left, these are teams that BLG absolutely could lose to. And by the way, still have the opportunity to, you know, maybe get past in the standings, as they most likely will still secure themselves a spot in top 4. They just need 1 more loss from IG or 1 more win for themselves, but there's chances that that doesn't happen, and then you're suddenly looking at things like game score, and then it just gets really wonky. So if you are BLG, like, you're feeling good about how Beishwan has been able to help the team out, but there are little cracks that have been able to show, and they got bursted open today by getting swept by JD Gaming.
And I think that jungle role specifically is really to be highlighted. And I think that this series was kind of emphasized by this, that it was Jun popping off in game number 1, single-handedly carrying that game. And even in game number 2, we got to see that Pantheon kind of run through the mid game before Arla took over and probably won them the game in his own hands. But the Pantheon versus the Skarner, again, we'd probably give that over to Jun. I think he had the better of Beichuan twice in a row. And that's where you start to think up against these top junglers. Maybe it is going to be a struggle for BLG.
Yeah, there's that gold graph. We went back and forth here in that game. It looked
Yeah.
like BLG finally found the fight they were looking for around that 22-minute mark, where they fully aced JDG right back, and then it was just like back-to-back aces into objectives taken overall. Bin did a lot actually on the Yorick, but he was never really given a position or an opportunity to play on the sides, so it resulted in never really having opportunities for turrets to be taken down, and in the full-on 5v5, that's where the Jax actually has the upper hand.
Yeah, I mean, this is, we'll get to run the replay package now. This is like the E, the shield coming up just in time there for Jun keeps himself, like, from taking everything and just instantly getting wiped. Arla, this is the first of many Arla highlight moments, right? We have that into a Great Fates call, don't get me wrong, but Arla sets that up, and I think that this game is maybe a little bit damning, maybe more so for Scout than anything else, because he was given so many resources on the Annie to begin with, and then in this team fight he does literally a couple of tibbers over the wall onto the Yorick, but that's about it. Arla, though, I mean, stepping into this game and steps up absolutely massively. Scout here has a good little engage to find Bin to start off with, but it's, again, followed up by Arla with a massive triple stun.
I mean, multiple insane counter strikes here from the Jax. I mean, I know that Shun got a lot of really nice engages off himself on the Pantheon, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ala was actually the one to earn player of the game, even though he didn't do too much in the early game. He was, remember, 30 CS behind this Yorick at the 10 to 15 minute mark, but he was way more impactful than Bin in these fights.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the idea of him getting that flash over the hostile takeover as well, just one-taps Elk. He was the reason that JDG won this game, right? Without a doubt, right? Jun did a lot of stuff keeping them close in this, but the reason that they won comes exclusively from that Jax, in my opinion. So I would be advocating very heavily for an Arla MVP in this one.
And now if you're BLG, suddenly you have to shift your expectations a little bit, right? This is no longer just the we are unstoppable, we are invincible, going to go on this undefeated run. You got a tough week ahead of you, and I'm sure they knew that, and I'm sure if you're a BLG fan, you knew that this was going to be your toughest test yet, but it didn't feel real until now.
No, and, you know, like you said, and what we've mentioned a lot, like, the games don't get particularly easier from here, and they have just not as much, but if not more stakes going on from here into the future. I mean, this is what we kind of needed a little bit earlier on, recognizing that we can get some good handshakes, but a four-man Fates call again, like, maybe missing, you know, putting his hat in the ring for those MVPs. The Cocoons weren't necessarily game-breaking, but the way those Kalista ultis were changing the course of these fights as well, it's worth, like, nodding the hat and just saying, missing, you had a performance this time, well done.
And so for JDG, jumping up into a tie for third place in the LPL Ascend group.
Yeah.
Don't think there's a possibility for them to catch up to top esports, absolutely, and it would be very difficult for them to catch up to anyone's legends at this point, but you know, overall, you're feeling very good about yourself if you're JD Gaming, despite some of the early struggles you were facing against other top teams in the LPL, but now winning 3 series in a row. Their Hell Week has kind of fizzled out into its conclusion as they played 5 series in 6 days or so, as it is all to earn MVP.
Yeah.
As we thought that it was deserved. Remaining schedule for JDG, Ninjas Pajamas, and then anyone's Legends. So not like the easiest schedule, but definitely something that they can try to build off of going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the series versus AL is going to be like a really big heavy hitter for our playoff series when we finally get around to those. Don't forget that we've got play-ins before all that. And for BLG as well, they've got some pretty tricky series coming up ahead of them. So there's a very real world where IG can sneak into that top 4 if JDG or BLG start to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden our top half of the league all look very competitive against each other, which is a very exciting thing to see here in the LPL. I think we have a look at the standings before we wrap up our show for the day. fully updated to cover all of the results that went down. Top Esports taking a victory over Weibo earlier on. Based off of pure game score now, Rude, they found themselves in 8th position behind both WE and FPX. And meanwhile, we see JDG actually leapfrogging BLG by taking that win over them in the head-to-head.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the realistic nature is that both of the 3, 4, and 5 teams, or all of the 3, 4, 5 teams, could end on 10 or 11 wins, and we end up with some game score tiebreakers deciding who ends up being in that top 4. IG's remaining games are a series against FPX, and then a very important series up against BLG. So the IG BLG series is going to be very important. JDG themselves, they've got a pretty tricky couple games ahead of them. We mentioned the AL series, and then potentially a little bit of a freebie up against NIP. So we'll see if NIP can throw any sort of caution to the wind there, but I do think that JDG have the best shot and are most likely to go into that top 4 of the 3 teams we have.
JDG, they have that matchup against NIP in a couple of days. That would be a must-win for them, going into an eventual maybe tougher game against anyone's legend. As we're starting to get that playoff picture sorted out, but there's still a lot of questions left to answer, and there's not going to be all the answers by the time the regular season is done. But hey, after this, we only have 5 days left until we know our full seeding going into the play-in stage, and then eventually that 8-team playoff bracket to determine who goes to MSI. Make sure you tune in tomorrow to see Top Esports take on Thunder Talk and Anyone's Legends take on Team WE. Before we go, we want to give a very big thank you to our Elite Coffee supporters, Aaron Soup, Mung, and Forrest Without. Their pledged financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an English LPL product every day. On behalf of our entire moderator team here on LPL English, our producer Ilya, and Rudude here along my side. My name has been Grapes. Thank you so much for tuning in to LPL English, and we'll see you all tomorrow for more games.